Ho, ho, ho.
Where am I?
Where are you?
Where am I? I'm in the call. Where am I?
You're in the void.
I'm in the void. Why am I in the void?
Oh, that's why.
Hi, I exist.
There she is.
I exist. Hi.
It's Sam and Max.
It's Sam and Max, but there's absolutely zero context because we're not playing the first season.
No
We're
context
only playing
allowed.
this one.
And I have a little challenge for us. We're not allowed to autism. We're not allowed to explain what's going on.
Yeah. It's the ultimate challenge.
It's the ultimate autism challenge.
Like, I know exactly what all of this, like, stuff on the screen means.
I don't. Which is really funny. Penny is allowed to give me hints on puzzles because I will get stuck, but other than that, no context. None at all. Here we go.
There was a zombie on there.
There's a lag.
Oh no. Oh, that's not good.
It's fine. It'll probably go away. There we go.
Okay, wait, let's do some.
Yeah.
Cool. Just ate our bit rate for a second.
It's a little bit loud.
Loud enough the mic is picking it up.
No, I think it was just us talking.
Oh, okay.
Congratulations on another successful peace summit, Mr. President.
Don't congratulate me. Congratulate the Peacemaker.
You crack me up, little brain salad in a blender, Mr. Spatula. He's been acting surly and withdrawn lately, even for a vice president. But I never thought it would come to this.
This is wonderful
His
without
lust
context.
for power has twisted him into a mockery of the goldfish we once kind of loved. That insouciant fin-flapping, that glassy, malevolent stare, like a sociopath or a Fox newscaster.
Still relevant.
Mr. Spatula has become pure evil.
Oh no!
Staging a coup, Spatula? Not on my watch. Eliminate him. You are my idol.
I didn't.
Flint paper.
Hiya, fellas. Hey, what's
Hey,
the
Flint Paper.
rumpus? I'm in the middle of some sensitive PI business.
And we respect your sensitivity.
Is that mechanical goon one of yours?
Ooh.
By the sacred sideburns of Isaac Asimov.
My Maintron 9000.
Destroy Sam and Max. Destroy Sam and Max.
X2 Maintron.
That's what Mr. Spatula gets for sending a hitman with lousy aim. Max, what say we go down and administer a freelance police-style beatdown to that metal monstrosity?
And then dance on its smoking carcass.
It's that attention to detail that makes me glad you're still president, little buddy.
We have gun.
We have gun.
So anyway, Max is the president of the United States.
Yep. Oh, look at all this stuff.
That sure is. Oh, hey. Hi, Leonard.
Hi, Leonard.
Pardoned? Have you been abusing your presidential powers again, Max?
That depends on what your definition of abuse is.
Look at all of these wonderful trophies from, you know,
From the
before.
stuff that happened.
From the other stuff that happened.
Everyone knows what this is.
Sure, yeah. Obviously, everybody knows the creepy singing bear head.
Yeah. Everyone knows what's happening.
Everybody knows what's happening, so there's no need to explain it.
Looks like we're gonna get
Encoding overload.
Yeah, it looks
every
like we're gonna
time it
get
loads.
encoding problems every time it loads. You guys should be able to hear us, but it may be choppy while it loads.
What goes up must come down.
Why are you fools making all that damn racket?
Just to tell you once again,
Oh man,
who's
Sybil's.
bad.
Holy
Good arm on that one.
I love that
I'm
Bosco
gonna
was
tear
right.
your playhouse
They needed to
down
relocate
pretty soon.
symbols.
He may be a mechanized engine of wanton destruction, but his taste in hideous middle-of-the-road pop music is impeccable.
I've lost that loving feeling. Oh, oh, oh.
Excuse me, Mr. Ginormous wind-up toy of destruction, sir.
Yes.
I don't suppose you care to stop
Conversation
tearing
with
apart
it.
our building.
In truth, it does not matter. I exist only as a mechanized engine for destruction. What I do is what I am, whether I care for it or not.
Oh no, Sam. He's been to community college.
It's trouble, all right.
Oh no. Stop it. Bad giant robot.
Would you stop doing this, please?
If you start me out, If you start me up, I'll never stop.
Huh?
I exist to destroy. I am carrying out my sole purpose of existence.
Someone had a lot of fun writing these lines.
The
And voice
question is
acting.
not would
Yeah.
I stop, but can I stop?
And the answer?
No.
Which raises
No.
the question. Would I stop beating his rusty metal ass? Or could I stop?
I have a question.
You seem like a smart guy.
For a robot?
Can you explain something to us?
There is no question you could have that I could not answer immediately. Shoot. Metaphorically.
Aww.
Aww. No shooting. Why do fools fall in love?
Why do fools fall in love?
Why do birds sing so gay, and lovers await the break of day?
Well, I'm sure you could, but
I get the feeling bullets won't hurt him.
It's more than a feeling. More than a feeling.
Well, now he's distracted.
yep. He's turned around also.
That's gotta
There's
do
the
something.
DeSoto's in the way.
I have spent too many cycles processing this query. I might as well face it. I'm addicted to shove.
This series is phenomenally good, and we are currently having a good
We
time.
are having a good time,
Karma,
yeah.
karma, 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 chameleon.
Excuse me, Mr. Mametron.
I love his taste in middle of the road pop music.
Yes.
I want to ask you
Question.
something. Why do birds suddenly appear every time you are near?
Do they? Fascinating. Can there be a creature whose existence depends solely on its proximity
Who
to
doesn't
an
know that
observer?
song?
I guess not. I love you just leave.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Yoink.
What? Why?
You were
This-
trying to destroy us.
Yeah.
And worse, you butchered every song I wish I'd forgotten.
And another one bites, and another one bites, and another one bites.
Man,
I
this
hope we
game
didn't
looks
fall on
so
anybody
good in
important.
the
We
HD
better hurry down
remake.
if we want to loot the body for spare parts.
I call dibs on any delicious candy that might spill from his demolished innards.
Okay. Ooh, I can WASD to move.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because they.
I just did it
I
instinctually.
have a question, Sam. How do you like me now, Spatula?
I'll ignore that question, Max. In order to say, look, holy knuckle-cracking Kringles on a bullet train with a sack full of ketchup-covered cheese logs.
It does not say that.
We were wrong about Mr. Spatula all
It does
along.
not say that.
What do you mean, we?
This hitman wasn't sent by some lowly goldfish. It was sent from a bleak and desolate wasteland
Slime.
by the most ancient and powerful opponent we've ever faced. A hairy, bloated, pagan god,
Oh my god.
Santa
Santa!
Claus.
A hairy, bloated pagan god! Based on the obscure holiday Penny Dreadful. I couldn't read it in time.
WASD, clearly named after computer engineering genius Wozniak.
God damn it.
That's good. That's a good one.
Shoot stuff. Shoot stuff.
Ah!
No, you clicked off shoot stuff. Look at all this stuff. Everybody knows this stuff.
Everybody knows this stuff. I did not mean to pin that.
Everybody knows this stuff, so there's clearly no need to explain it.
Yeah. No need for context. You guys know what's going on. Definitely.
Good old Steve Purcell.
Mhm.
He sure did make these characters.
I love that we're just driving
Oh,
to the North Pole in the
they didn't
DeSoto.
show us the drive up in the original. That's neat.
That's what we get for purchasing
Well, here we are at the
the new
North
version.
Pole.
When we find Santa, leave the talking to me. And the hasty trial, the harsh sentencing, and the immediate execution.
Hold on. You can't be Santa's judge, Jory. And executioner. Don't I get to do anything?
Oh, it's them.
What the hell are they doing here?
I don't know.
In this economy? Yeah, context in this economy?
Oh, hey, look, Max. It's the soda poppers. Again.
It's
We thought
soda
you'd all gotten
poppers.
taken out in the Great Dakotan conflict.
You must be relieved to see we made it.
Right, relieved.
What are you doing here?
We all got terrible presents from Santa.
So we decided to come to the North Pole and return them.
Wow, what
Better
jerks.
that than spending Christmas Eve with a shotgun aimed at the fireplace.
Kids today have no respect for tradition, Sam.
You know, honestly, I would believe that a giant robot sent to kill Sam and Max is exactly what they asked for Christmas. Why don't you go inside?
Why don't you go inside?
We were on our way in when we heard some frightening noises coming from the workshop.
It almost sounded like...
Gunshots?
Yeah, how did you guess?
Sam, why am I the only one who associates Christmas with the sound of gunfire?
Best not to think about it, Max.
Sorry, Max. What did you get from Santa?
What did you get from Santa?
A jar full of rhinoceros musk. Yes, another one.
I got a see-through nightie. It's beautiful, but I don't have the hips for it.
I'll trade you.
Why? What did you get?
Tuberculosis.
Oh, God.
That's what I gave Sam last year.
And that's why we no longer have Secret Santa at the office.
Are you still governors?
Aren't you guys governors of the Dakotas?
We were, but that
Is
wasn't
that context?
So
No.
we annexed Nebraska.
Unfortunately, there was a bit of a disagreement.
With who?
2.5 million voters. They won.
You gonna run again?
Are you going to run for re-election?
No, now we're focused on environmental issues. We've
Uh-huh.
got a new respect for nature since we got kicked out of the governor's mansion.
Can we stay with you guys?
No.
No.
Absolutely not.
We should be going. Christmas isn't going to save itself.
Yeah, not like that snobby, self-sufficient St. Patrick's Day.
Snobby, self-sufficient
the problem with this
St.
game-
Patrick's Day.
The problem with this game is that it's so funny that
You don't
there's
wanna
not
talk
a
over
lot we
it.
can add to it.
Well, but we can, while they're not talking, we can yap.
Right, no, we yap while they're not talking, and then we just shut the fuck up.
Actually, the
saying things.
the main problem with this
He's
game
really
is
let
that without
himself go.
telling you guys the context and autisming, I have no idea what to talk about.
We can talk about Christmas.
We could
It's a
talk about
topiary.
Christmas.
We
We can
Yeah.
talk
Tiny
about
clay
Christmas.
What's
Let's
a
talk about
topiary?
Christmas.
That.
What's a topiary? That.
Is a boyfriend on Santa's sleigh.
Yeah.
How we doing on fuel? It's running low on coal.
Oh. Good to know.
Ironic.
A snow devil.
Like Snow
Aw,
Angel. Different.
It's adorable.
I think it might
When a
be a
tiefling
warning,
makes a snow
Sam.
angel.
Yeah.
Still adorable.
Let's go.
I'm sure that's not an indication of anything that may or may not be going on. Anyway, into the workshop.
Neither is the spotlight.
Yeah, well, that's for security.
Is it?
Yes?
Oh, it's so magical in here. They did a really good job decorating this one. I forgot
Ding
about his
dong.
face.
Justice calling.
You've got to help us. He'll kill us all.
Nah, Max is harmless. Mostly.
Musume is in the horror genre?
Santa!
What?
He forced us to make all those awful,
That's hilarious.
hurtful toys. We don't know what's gotten into him.
Body horror.
I like the Red Raider.
turn red with the blood of the naughty.
The cartoons always made him seem a lot more jolly.
The cartoons sure did. Hello,
We're
Elf.
trying to talk to Santa. You know him?
Oh, sure. He's the one who put me in charge here.
Was that before or after he went crazy?
I'm not sure. When someone offers me a promotion, I don't ask a lot of questions.
What's wrong with Santa?
What happened to Santa?
I don't know, but if you ask me, it was only a matter of time before he snapped. He's always been a little crazy.
He has?
Think about it. The man gives presents away for free.
I always assumed he did it for the tax write-off.
Where is
Where are all
everybody?
the other elves?
Santa fired them. To stay competitive with the other major holidays, we had to outsource our gift manufacturing.
How'd the elves take it?
They all got together and sang a farewell song.
Aw, that's sweet.
You didn't hear the song. Let's just say it wasn't very Christmassy.
Oh. Talk to
How do we
Santa.
talk to Santa?
I don't think talking is going to do any good. All he wants to do is shoot everything.
That's understandable.
You gotta get his gun away from him, or he's gonna make us do bad things.
Okay, can do.
Who manufactures the toys now?
It's all been moved off-site, so officially speaking, I have no idea.
What about unofficially?
Baby penguins.
Baby
Why on earth would you
penguins.
use baby penguins?
The adults refuse to work without a health plan.
Are the baby penguins any good?
Do the baby penguins do good work?
Sure, if you don't mind toys that have a slightly fishy smell.
Giving them or receiving them?
You can use the gift tube over there and see for yourself.
Cool. What's it like living here?
What's it like living at the North Pole?
I wouldn't know. I commute.
Oh. Okay, see
Merry
you later.
Merry Christmas.
Where?
Don't remind me. If we don't deal with Santa soon, we'll never make our shipping date.
Oh no.
Oh no.
It's a boxing Betty doll. The finest in remote control fisticuffs.
Nice.
Didn't the Mametron teach us anything about the dangers of playing with violent robots?
No.
Nope, I didn't learn anything.
Good. I worry sometimes.
It's the world's simplest maze.
What's the big deal? All mazes are simple.
Not everybody has your knack for lateral thinking and heavy ordnance, Max.
Look at this Christmas tree. Let's talk to this other
We're
elf.
trying to talk to Santa. You know him?
Mind if I keep cowering?
I'd encourage it.
I just
Remember
remember.
to cower with your legs, not your back.
Good advice, chat.
Good advice.
Cower with your legs, not your back.
Any idea why Santa went nuts?
Beats me. I'm the intern. I just came off the assembly line yesterday.
The what?
Jumping jacks and half stacks of hat racks. Are you saying elves are made in factories?
Because if you are, I want to place an order for 6 million. Also, tell my army they're fired.
No, I meant I was working in a factory.
Ah, that makes a lot more sense. What did the factory make?
Elves.
Elves.
Elves. Sam and Max giving solid life advice indeed. What's up, Kenjamin?
Hi, Kenj.
See anything unusual lately?
Well, this morning I could have sworn I felt the presence of an unspeakable evil.
An unspeakable
Tell
evil.
us more about this unspeakable evil.
I'd rather not speak about it.
Wow. What are you
So
doing?
what do you do here?
I'm supposed to make this tree grow
How?
by crying. Christmas trees love elf tears.
Heck,
Wow.
who doesn't?
It makes them grow up big and fast. But I'm too darn happy. I'll never be able to cry.
What a shame.
Where's my onion?
It's enough to make you cry.
I wish.
I bet we could make you cry.
I bet we could make
Merry
you
Christmas.
cry.
That is a dialogue
sure
option.
is.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
We could make you
I
cry.
bet we could make you cry.
Thanks. I've been trying to cry, but I'm just too darn happy.
We can fix that. In fact, that's about the only thing we can fix.
If you want to make me cry, go ahead.
We want to! We want to! Me first!
Let's see.
You can click the badge to switch between the two of them.
Well, Sam did want to go first.
Max.
We
you
killed
mean.
your dog.
Or-
Oh,
yeah, Max.
no.
Yep, he or she ran right in front of our car, and, well,
I tried to draw you a picture, but I ran out of red crayon.
That sounds awful, but I don't have a dog.
I know. We got him for you.
And then we killed him.
Feel like crying yet?
Was he a good dog?
Oh, yeah.
Well, then at least he's in doggy heaven now.
Dang.
Start crying or I'm gonna dip you in honey barbecue sauce and throw you to a polar bear.
Oh, goody. I love polar bears.
Don't you get it? A polar bear would chop your head off.
What? Nothing that cute could be dangerous.
Me as a child.
I didn't think I still had feelings, but there they are.
There they are.
I'll pluck out your eyeballs and use them as Christmas tree ornaments.
Oh, no. Wait, how am I supposed to cry if I don't have any eyes?
We could try it and see what happens.
Thanks, but I'd rather keep my eyes.
You were
In
adopted.
case no one mentioned this to you yet, you were adopted.
Like he takes a more
I've been living at that
cerebral
orphanage for
route.
30 years. It was starting to get pretty awkward. Where are my new parents?
They just died.
Oh, well, easy come, easy go.
Wow. Santa isn't
You
real.
don't still believe in Santa Claus, do you?
Sure I do. I saw him this morning.
Well,
If
I hate
not
to be
friend,
the one
why
to break it to you,
friendships?
but Santa isn't real.
Look, I'm
He's
Max.
just
Santa's not
make-believe.
real.
There's a-
like the Black Easter Bunny or elves.
But I'm an elf.
That's what makes this so hard.
Wait a second. Are you saying I don't exist?
Can you prove that you exist?
Well, sure. I mean, no. I guess I can't.
Ouch. Tough break. Surprise! We were lying.
Congratulations, you exist.
Nice try, but I don't believe in you either.
Mood. I don't believe in me either. I don't think I exist.
Nice shuriken ornament there.
Yeah, very nice.
Now steal his watering can.
Oh, okay.
Wow, I can't believe he filled up the entire can.
Yeah, we must have really terrified the poor guy.
Good work, little buddy.
Oh, stop. Now you're gonna make me cry.
If I exist, this universe is a hellscape.
We've got better things to do than jump around on a trampoline.
Do we?
We do?
Not really.
We've got better things to do than jump around on a trampoline.
Do we?
I wonder what the elves have on their office computer.
Oh, let's read their email.
It's a high score list for Minesweeper. Let's see. Prancer, Wiggles, Shambling Corporate Presence? How'd that get there?
Well, pretty soon it's gonna be all Max. Now, how do I start a new game?
Sorry, I think it's frozen.
Oh.
Computers and icy Arctic wastelands. A bad combination.
Actually, probably a good combination.
Yeah, no, I was about to say, actually, that's probably a
Because computers are pretty much
SID card
self-tuners.
with a fine field day
This
on
must be
that.
what Santa uses to send presents.
Aw, Maimtron 9000's out of stock.
Aw.
Grandma's happy.
Cougar in a box, assembly required. Piranha sold separately.
Piranha's sold
Lame.
separately. Aw, what? My first mo I had. About Grandma's happy
Grandma's
Pills.
Happy Pills.
What's in them?
The bottle just says, good boys and girls don't ask Grandma a lot of questions about her pills. Now we just need to attach a gift tag.
I'll have to figure that out later. I'm sure I have
Hey,
to
it's
send
the North Pole.
Bosco something.
The magnetic center of the Earth.
Oh yeah, probably.
Magnetism?
Probably have to
Don't
mess with
tell me you're
Bosco.
one of those kooks.
You don't believe in magnetism?
It's an interesting theory, but I'm not convinced. Your magnetism is a cute bedtime story, but I believe in one thing. Okay, fine. I guess I can believe in two things, but that's my limit.
I guess I can believe in
No,
two
Max,
things.
you can believe in one thing. Sam.
Yeah.
It's Santa's record player.
Do you think it still works?
Since we haven't gone near it yet, I assume so.
A Torture Me Elmer.
Hooray!
It's a Torture Me Elmer doll.
Look, he comes with his own breakable spirit and detachable retinas.
Wow.
There's all sorts of stuff around here.
A slimy crate.
What is this gelatinous goo?
I don't know, but for once, I don't find myself wanting to eat it.
There's a mailing label. To Santa. From Lower Manitoba.
And they said Santa never gets gifts.
Yeah, slimy crate.
Nice.
I wonder why they call this the Flounder Pounder.
Let's find out.
Fun.
A bop buddy. Look at all this stuff.
Bop buddy you can't see 'cause your big
pre-adolescent
head's in the way.
aggression management system.
See it? It's right there.
Well, sure. You can see it now that the camera changed.
I told Chad it was there. They just have to believe me.
Why would they do that?
Hi, we're collecting guns for tots. Care to make a donation?
Find another way to get into Santa's room.
Guess so. Well, I can confirm you've done all you can do in here for now.
Okay.
You picked up a few items. You,
Yellow snow reclamation.
This thing takes yellow snow and bleaches it into fresh sanitary snow.
Want to have a snowball fight?
Not without industrial goggles, I don't.
you got a snowball. A fresh, reclaimed yellow snowball.
It's Santa's chimney.
Do you think he ever pops down his own chimney, delivering presents to himself?
If he's been good that year, sure.
Nice. Anyway,
Can we steal Santa's sleigh?
I don't want to say no.
Where does he attach
I'm gonna
the
say
flying
not
reindeer?
yet.
There's a boiler on the back.
Whoa, tough break for the reindeer.
The boiler runs on coal, I think.
Well, you have one item that'll get you up to that chimney right now.
Ah. Aha. No, not
the
Max.
topiary. That.
Here we grow.
Puzzle, Sam. Wow.
Hey, Sam, give me the rest of those elf tears. I've got a date with an unsuspecting metropolis.
Sorry, little buddy. They only work on plans.
You win again, Tokyo!
Hey, my snowball melted.
Aw. That'll be important later.
Yep.
Is there an escalator in the topiary?
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Oh my god, I'm on fire!
No, you're not. There's no fire in that fireplace.
Merry Christmas.
We come bearing good cheer and high-powered pistols.
Sugar plum fairies!
Nope, that's Sam and Max.
Santa, you okay in there?
Ho 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 ho! Eat hot lead, you little imps!
Shh.
Performance reviews for young children. They're exorcism instructions.
Wicked! I want to do it now!
But we don't know anyone who's possessed. Or
Don't we?
do we?
How do we start?
Hey kids, want to silence those inner voices?
Nah,
Do I?
they're pretty
No
friendly.
more messy arcane rituals. The My Little Demon playset makes it easy. First, signal the emergence of the demon with the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse action figures, sold separately.
Aww.
Ask your parents to help you place the horsemen around a powerful magnetic pole.
Okay.
Roman Polanski?
Finally, draw the hellspawn out by singing the friendly demon song, using personal information about your demon. He won't be able to resist.
This is gonna be the best Christmas ever!
Sounds like easy instructions to me.
Yeah.
The reindeer rug.
It's an album of satanic Christmas songs.
Nice.
Oh, it includes the smash hit, The Friendly Demon Song.
Nice.
I can't think
That's
of anything to
convenient.
say right now.
Convenient indeed.
I've never seen Santa take his coat off before.
Now that you mention it, I don't think I've ever seen you take your coat off either.
I haven't.
I haven't.
You two again! Hold still while I give you your present!
I don't think there's anything else you can do in here because if you try to get too close to Santa, he's just gonna,
Okay, so
he's
we need
gonna
the
deliver lead for Christmas.
but we need personal. I thought
He's gonna put
the
that
book
gun
next
right
to him-
down your chimney.
Yeah, he is. I thought that the book next to him might have personal information.
No. You have to get that from context.
Oh, from context. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen all the evidence you need to see around the thing. Now you just gotta find those 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse action figures. What a coincidence! They've all been delivered to Straight and Narrow.
I see.
Time for a drive.
Where to, Sam?
Back to the office.
Let's head back to civilization, or what's left of it.
Good thinking. We can always freeze to death out here later.
See ya, soda poppers.
Have fun standing in the cold forever.
Man, Sybil's really did get relocated.
Brand new location.
Sybil's not here. It's closed.
Open 24 hours unless I don't feel like it. Or a giant robot tosses the entire building a city block.
You know.
Stinkies!
Ah, the smell of desiccated eggs, congealing bacon fat, and rye bread gone awry.
It's
Delicious.
like Stinky's Diner never closed.
Welcome to Stinky's. We never close, except when we're closed.
Who are you?
I'm Stinky.
The Stinky we know was a cantankerous old man who transformed his seething hatred of humanity into a misanthropic smorgasbord of culinary horrors.
No,
That
Sam,
does
that's context.
sound like Grandpa. Okay, we're ready for the next round of trivia. And the question is, when did the War of 1812 begin? A. 1812. B. 20,000 years BC.
What?
C. March 3rd, 2004. D. Bangers and mash.
Trivia night.
Right then. Hey, it's Abe Lincoln.
Yeah. And
23
Sybil.
skidoo, Mr. Lincoln.
What's shaking, Mr. Ex-President?
Hmm? Oh, it's you two.
How are things with
Are you
Sybil?
and Sybil dating?
A gentleman doesn't kiss and tell.
That's not what your MySpace page says.
Hey, I never
MySpace.
friended you.
Where's your hat?
Where's your hat?
I'm an enormous stone head. Why should I wear a hat?
To cover your enormous stone bald spot?
I don't have a bald spot, you little pipsqueak.
Are you kidding? It's as big as a Volvo! If that thing's to scale, I'm amazed Booth wasn't blinded by the reflection.
Low blow, Max.
See you, AL.
Represent.
Hi,
Hey,
Sybil.
Sybil.
Oh, hey there, Sam and Max. What was all that commotion outside?
Oh, your store's
Just a
been
little urban
relocated.
renewal project that got out of hand.
By the way, didn't you tell us that you wished your office was closer to a good restaurant?
That's right. Why?
No reason.
Are you and Abe on a date?
Well, if you want to call it that.
What if I wanted to call it the unspeakable obscenity from beyond space, cackling on the threshold of utter madness?
I think I'd prefer date.
Suit yourself.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want whatever Max just said?
What brings you here?
I thought it would be fun to play this trivia quiz, but instead we're stuck watching Stinky make a mockery of the word knowledge.
Sounds like fun to me.
Yeah, Max and I always have a blast making a mockery of the word justice.
How's Stinky running the trivia?
You're not enjoying the trivia contest?
No, I'm sure my answers are right, but Stinky says otherwise.
I'm sure you're right too, dear. If this is too aggravating...
Oh no, this is fine, Abe. I'm just enjoying being here with you. If I weren't trying to impress Abe, I'd claw that lying witch's eyes out.
You should let Lincoln see the real you. Otherwise, your entire relationship is based on
Eyes
a
getting
lie.
like
Why are
wide.
you giving out relationship advice, Max?
I just want to see a good cat fight.
See you, Sybil.
Gotta fix the trivia.
Yeah. And by fix, you of course mean
Hiya,
cheat, right?
Stinky.
Yes.
If that is your real name.
There's one more
who
character
are
you
you
haven't
two
talked
again?
to.
Sam and Max, freelance police. The real
There's one more
Stinky's
person I
favorite
can talk to?
customers.
Yeah.
It says so right on our frequent
Merry
diner
Christmas,
card.
Ham!
Which conveniently double as
Hello.
organ donor cards.
Christmas
Oh,
ham.
yeah,
Actually, I don't
Sam
like
and
ham.
Max. Grandpa
I'm gonna have
warned me
Christmas
about you
ham
two.
tonight.
when
Yeah,
he
you're
left
gonna
the
have some
restaurant
Christmas
to
ham.
me.
We have
Something
our
about frequent
Christmas
threats of
dinner.
violence and refusal to pay your bill.
He remembered us.
Ready to order.
Why are all these
What's
people
going
here?
on? There's a lot of people here.
It's a trivia contest. It's fun. People get to show off how little they know, and I get to show off how much I know.
That doesn't sound like much incentive to play.
Shows what you know. Oh, and there's a big prize too.
Ooh, what's the trivia prize?
What's the prize for the trivia contest?
If anyone wins, they get my ancient heirloom. Sickly man on a horse. Not that anyone's come close to winning yet.
That's
My
one of
sophisticated
the,
questions are
that's
just
one of the
too
four horsemen of the
esoteric
apocalypse
for these
action
goof
figures.
monkeys.
We need one of
Goof
those.
monkeys?
We need 4 of those.
It's just an expression.
Can we play trivia?
How do you play?
It's easy. Just grab a trivia pad. I'll read a question. You write down the answer. I'll review the answers, and then you'll see how much smarter I am than everyone else. You can choose a team if you want.
Oh, Sam, pick me, pick me!
Ready to order.
So long.
Hang on. You said there was one more person I could talk to?
Yeah. Look very carefully at the other tables.
Oh. I found
Look,
him!
Max.
It's
our
Bug.
incredible recording bug.
Great. I finally managed to get away from my family, and now you two show up. Can a bug just eat a brimstone sandwich in peace? Ah, brimstone.
I will feast on your entrails and devour your soul.
What the hell?
I just play that demon
Why'd you
voice.
play back that demon recording?
I've got a case of PISD, post-insecticide stress disorder. It keeps causing these flashbacks.
Oh no.
How so?
I get a whiff of something familiar, and the memories just come rushing back.
Must have been some brimstone in the air during that exorcism.
Oh, is that brimstone? This whole time I just assumed you let out a 200-pound fart.
No, it was brimstone. Honest.
Honest.
it was brimstone.
Sir, so long, sir.
Keep 'em dangly, dogface.
Talk to him about trivia.
Oh, okay.
Hello, sir.
Ah! Oh, I thought you were my family. They always try to surprise me on my birthday.
The song say birthday?
No.
Ole!
That was weird.
Hey, I got an achievement.
You don't get along with your family?
Negative. Except for my dad, they're all a bunch of spineless ladybugs.
Aren't all bugs spineless?
Not in my regiment. If you didn't have a spine, by God, my dad would make you grow a pair.
A pair of spines?
That's just the kind of bug he was. Senseless and brutal.
A pair of
God, I miss him.
spines?
Don't you grow a pair of spines?
I grow a pair of spines every day.
Every
and
day.
then I tear them out with my bare hands. I'm using them to build my spine chair.
Ooh. How fancy.
Let's talk trivia.
Want to compare notes on the trivia contest?
That's strictly on a need-to-know basis.
We've got clearance from the Department of being bigger than you and having guns.
Well, what do you think it is, smart guy?
What do I tell him?
Whatever you want him to answer.
Well,
The real answer is A.
yeah.
And Sybil's smart enough that she's going to get the real answer.
Right.
And then Stinky's going to say, no, that's wrong because I'm better than you.
Right.
So go with C.
We think it's C.
I guess that's the best I can expect from civilians.
From civilians. What happened to your dad?
What happened to your dad?
You really want to know?
No, not really.
It was our toughest battle yet. We'd secured our positions in a heavily fortified dumpster when suddenly they came out of nowhere.
Who?
The cleaning crew. Cleaning crew!
The cleaning crew.
Attacking with
crew.
sanitation. That's just plain dirty.
The smell of bleach was overpowering.
I
We
hate
all
the
would have
smell
gone
of cleaning
thorax up if it
products.
hadn't been for my dad. I still remember his last words. Move out, maggots. God, he was concise. Gets me every time.
Every time?
When you start having flashbacks.
How long have you had this weird flashback disorder?
Ever since my company tried and failed to take Hamburger Hill.
In Nam?
Negative. Hamburger Hill behind the Burger Buddies on West 5th. The place reeked of pheromones. Charlie was using Roach Motels. Roach Motels!
Oh no. Any favorite flashbacks?
What other memories you got recorded?
I want to hear him talk like zombie George Burns. I'll go get some cigars and formaldehyde.
Get away from me. I don't want to aggravate my condition.
That's fair.
Sir, so long, sir.
I can't remember if the bug will always answer the same thing, or if he will listen to you. I know Lincoln will listen to you. I think the bug always answers D, though.
Let's talk
Want to
trivia.
compare notes on the trivia contest?
That's not necessary. Abe and I know what we're doing.
That's right. We're doing fine. Help me out here, guys.
We think it's B.
We think it's C.
I was gonna.
Okay.
Okay, well,
Whatever.
C, fine, then you can answer B.
Yeah.
See you, AL.
You just have to make it impossible for Sybil to cheat, that's all.
Yeah.
By cheating.
By cheating.
Let's give this trivia question a try.
Okay, let's hear everyone's answers. We'll start with you, Sybil. I chose A. Of course you did, dear. Because you're wrong.
I chose C.
Oh, I'm impressed, is what I would say if you were right. Which you're not.
The answer is D.
Yeah, he always answers D.
Oh, I'm sorry. That is wrong.
We chose B.
No, that's wrong. Oh, I guess it must be right. Well, congratulations. I'm really annoyed that you won, but I'm far too magnanimous to let it bother me. Cheaters.
It's the limited edition Pestilence maquette with super detailed open sores.
Wow.
Aw, see how he slumps in his saddle?
Does he have any cool action features?
Cut it out, Max. You don't know what that'll do.
What's the worst a toy could do? Choke a toddler, blind a toddler? Eviscerate?
Well, it looks like
Eviscerate.
nothing happened anyway. Let's go.
Absolutely nothing happened. It's fine.
Nothing happened. Happy holiday.
Happy holiday. Happy hollandaise. Hollandaise.
Bosco.
Canada sells UAs to Macro Hardcore.
Huh.
Oh boy, new Sam and Max season.
Halt. Welcome to Bosco's Inconvenience. Please wait while I determine whether you are truly welcome or if I am just uttering idle pleasantries.
Nothing says inconvenience like a full body search before you can buy your candy cigarettes and all day suckers.
You have been deemed not unacceptable. Welcome.
Hooray! Not
Yay,
unacceptable.
not unacceptable.
Bosco, your disguise. It's hideous.
Claw my eyes out, Sam. I can't bear to look at it.
Not if I claw my own eyes out first, little buddy.
I'm not wearing a disguise.
Wow, I forgot how ugly you were without a wig or hat or something.
Shh, my package.
Why no disguise?
What, no hilariously inadequate disguise this time?
Sam. You poor, naive fool. Don't you realize the time for disguises is past?
No.
Yeah, you poor naive fool. Don't you realize that?
Quiet, head knuckle.
A disguise could
Knuckle.
never protect you from THEM.
Them?
You scared me.
Oh yeah, I forgot that they changed Bosco's
Yeah,
voice actor.
Voice actor, yeah.
What's in the package?
Say, Bosco,
I like the
what's
old
in
one
there?
Hey guys, does my package sound like it's ticking to you?
Not your best pickup line, Bosco.
Oh, I don't know.
It doesn't
I
quite fit
think
him
my
as well.
package is the bomb.
Now that's
It
a
sounds too
pickup
young.
line.
Yeah. Like I said, I like this old one better.
Yeah, he sounds too young.
Who would send you a bomb?
My mother, of course. She sends me one every year around this time.
Families need traditions.
So why don't you just get rid of it?
I built that bomb disposal unit for that very purpose.
So, why don't you just get rid of it?
'Cause it might be the billion-dollar plunger I just ordered. What a dilemma.
Open the package.
Just open your package, Bosco.
But what if it's the bomb? I thought I heard ticking.
What's with your store?
What's with your store?
I'm not sure if you noticed, but this ain't a store no more, man.
I haven't noticed anything.
Look, I've got $100 trillion and 1,000 faceless enemies. I don't need to sell anything.
Then why keep the place open?
I'm a people person.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Bomb of the Month.
Subscribe to Bomb of the Month Club.
My package is the bomb. There you go.
You have
Do you have any bulletproof edible underwear?
I don't have anything. This ain't a store.
Do you have any Lords of Leaping and or Maids of Milking?
I told you, this ain't a store.
Do you have any inflatable arms capable of being used as replacements for your real arms?
Didn't I just tell you this ain't a store no more?
Do you have any passive-aggressive payback disguised as an innocuous customer inquiry? Do you have any...
This ain't a store!
It's not?
No.
Oh, why didn't you say so?
$1 trillion worth of detection equipment, and yet he still didn't see that one coming a mile away.
Murphy Clorngus.
Murphy Clorngus. Murphy Clorngus, everyone.
Fancy dance scanner, Bosco.
Tools are necessary. Tools are the only things that separate us from the animals.
That probably plays a little better with the non-dog and rabbit ground.
That's why I need the personal antipathy registration annulment and non-negational omnifunctional identification device.
That's just paranoid.
Technically, yes it is.
That looks great.
The store looks interesting.
It ain't a store no more. And did you know people who say that something looks interesting are more likely to be serial killers?
More likely than who?
Please wear that.
The non-serial killers. It's a fact. A fact they don't want you to know.
Who doesn't want me to know?
Exactly.
You're a decorator.
My regards to your decorator.
Yeah, what's the style? Early colonial conspiracy theorist?
No, a theorist is somebody who has a theory. I have conspiracy facts.
So, I guess you'd be a conspiracy factist.
He's certainly not a cluist.
Our grandma says things are interesting, but she doesn't want to say she
have
hates
a
it.
clue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, she does.
Enough about the store.
Enough about your store.
It's not a... No, forget it.
Get rid of the package.
Just get rid of your package, Bosco.
But what if it's my plunger? I gotta be sure it's ticking.
Who's them?
Who's them?
That's exactly what I'm trying to figure out. I'm watching, I'm listening, and I will find THEM.
Well, if you do, tell them... Okay, this is getting old fast.
Them. See ya, Bosco.
Just...
I love torturing Bosco.
Oh, look, there's look at his X-ray.
Oh.
Hey, that looks like one of the 4 Horsemen action figures.
Ooh. Can I talk to him about it?
Hey, Bosco.
No.
See ya, Bosco.
Nope. He has a
Say,
X-ray,
Bosco,
but...
we'll take that package off your hands for you.
It's step back, boy. That's mine.
How do I get him to give it to me?
Well...
I'm glad somebody's keeping wary of the inevitable pigeon uprising.
Context.
No, that's not context. That's just a hint.
Photography equipment for people who've never
Well,
heard
he's
the word
expecting
digital.
exactly one package with a bomb in it. So if he gets a package that has ticking, then he'll open the other one.
Yep.
Because it might be a $1 billion plunger. I don't know why he ordered a $1 billion plunger, but I guess if he's got $100 trillion, $1 billion really isn't that much.
Yeah.
Oh, look. It's Jimmy.
Oh, it's
Hey,
Jimmy
my
Two-Teeth.
missing boxing glove.
That's my lucky glove, Putz.
Jimmy Two-Teeth, what are you and your unsavory pals doing in the burned-out husk of this robot?
The first rule is we don't talk about what goes on in the burned-out husk of this robot.
Hey, neat horse. Give it to me.
Nothing doing.
Rat.
That's my championship trophy, and I want it fair and square.
You know, for
I
such a
always thought
jerk,
being shiftless
he's
and lazy
pretty
was its
cute.
own reward.
He's really cute.
They're giving out trophies now?
Boxing championship, wise guy. See ya, suckers.
You should punch him in the face.
You are so right.
It's Boxing Betty!
It's Boxing Betty!
Don't worry about it. Hope you're good at
Why are
punch
his
out.
gloves so much smaller?
That's a different rat.
Oh, it's a different rat.
0 victories, 48 defeats, and 1 draw due to unsportsmanlike conduct with a carving knife. Weighing in at 14 ounces, Wally Glassjaw Bubble Sniffer. And our challenger, coming direct from the North Pole, weighing in at 1 pound, 14 ounces without batteries, Boxing Buddy!
Yeah, let's go!
Ready, fight! Ouch!
Oh gosh.
What power! Knock him out!
Okay, I got it.
And he's out cold!
I figured it out.
Yeah.
Wins!
Ding, 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 ding. It's just a simple game of Punch-Out.
Yeah.
What's this? A new opponent? Hailing from a potato chip bag in the dumpster outside Sloth Mart, the rat whose barber didn't know when to stop, the pride of the skin bodies, Bald Bull Rat!
Let's go, Bald Bull Rat!
Both of those people are Punch-Out references, by the way.
Ouch!
Gotta dodge first and then counterattack.
Right hook!
Dodge to the side that he lifts up.
Well, he was lifting the same.
The left! Body blow!
You got it.
Put him away! Knockout!
There we go.
Betty wins!
Punching rats. Punching rats. You are currently punching rats.
Punching rats. That's
It's
what
okay,
we're
they're
doing.
punching back. It's a sport.
Yeah, it's sport.
I like all the rats in the
Rat
background.
sport. I know, look at them, they're so cute.
Direct from a hole in the wall of Sam and Max's office, weighing in at 1 pound 13 ounces or 12 ounces without the lucky glove, our defending champion, Jimmy Tutti! Ready?
That glove is only 1 ounce.
No, it's 1 pound, 1 ounce. That glove will knock you out in one hit, by the way.
Oh, damn.
Like I said, you have to dodge to the side that he lifts up.
Yeah.
Would you like to try again?
Bring it on.
Ready? Fight!
Oh, good, they don't make you redo the whole thing in this one.
Left hook left!
Fuck.
You keep dodging the wrong
I
direction.
keep dodging the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Would you like to try
Dodge
again?
into his punch, not away from it.
Yeah.
I have not yet begun to fight.
Ready? Fight! All right, that had to hurt.
Yeah, just like that.
Ouch! What power? The left! The left! Knock him out! And
There we
Jimmy
go.
goes
Got
down.
it.
Yeah.
Boxing Betty is
I just
the
had
new
to, I just had to lock in for a second.
Yeah, just had to lock in. Gotta go gamer mode.
Gotta go gamer. Let's go, gamers.
It's the super exclusive war action figure with extra. There are pieces missing. I don't see the weapons of mass destruction.
Oh man.
Who needs them?
How could I lose?
I'm no expert, Jimmy, but I bet being a loser helped.
You're right. I can't go on like this. Goodbye, cruel world.
Oh, nice going, Max. Now see what you done? Jimmy's gonna off himself.
Nah, we'll catch him.
I always thought guys appreciated a bracing, candid reality check.
Your suicide causation rate suggests otherwise.
I'm gonna do it. I'll jump, I tell ya.
Hang on a second, Jimmy.
You're a rat. You'll be fine.
Try to land on somebody.
After you jump, can I have your stuff?
Like what? I ain't got nothing.
Don't say that. Your pelt looks like it'd make a great pair of ear warmers.
Max, you're not helping.
Max is not helpful.
Jimmy, this isn't like you.
What do you mean?
You're not the suicidal type. You don't have the guts. Or the follow-through.
Grown!
Wow.
It's always darkest before the dawn, Jimmy.
What the hell does that even mean? Give it up, Sam.
Ah, you're right. If somebody as dim as you can tell I'm just phoning it in, why bother?
Sam, you're not really helping either.
You know your wife's gonna give you hell if you kill yourself.
Mary? She left me.
You're overreacting, Jimmy.
You think?
Sure. Your wife probably never really loved you in the first place.
Wow.
I keep forgetting that he's just as much of a sociopath as Max is.
Hey, when you jump, Try to hit somebody annoying on the way down. Like one of those soda poppers. Which one's the incontinent one again?
I couldn't tell you.
Boy, you really are useless, aren't you? Wouldn't you rather die by my hand?
I guess it'd be faster and better to get taken out by a friend. You are my friend, right, Max?
I wonder what I could use to do the job. The Luger? A 9-iron?
You're not even listening to me, are you?
Of course I am, Sam. Go on. After you jump, can I have your stuff?
Oh, I already did this
Like
one.
what?
Yeah.
I ain't got nothing.
Don't say that. Your pelt looks like it'd make a great pair of ear warmers.
Turn that frown upside down.
That nonsense ain't helping.
Sorry, Jimmy. It's just that suicide is too horrible for me to even contemplate. Even though we'd all be happier if you were dead.
Wow!
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Whoa!
He is.
Look on the bright side.
No wife, no family, no job. What right side?
Well, with all the brain damage you got from boxing, you'd make a great vacant-eyed janitor.
Nuts. My boxing career didn't even last long enough to give me a decent case of brain damage.
You can't do anything about
Max,
that right
I don't
now.
think this is helping.
I disagree, Sam. I feel much better about myself already.
Wow, Max. What a jerk.
Yep.
Hey, what about that trampoline?
It's too big to carry.
We need the last...
There are two
There's
more,
two more.
Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
Alright.
One of which is currently in Bosco's package.
Yeah, we know where one of them is. The only other
the
place
other
to go
one-
is Sam and Max's office.
No, there's stuff past Stinky's.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's actually nothing you need.
Oh my god, look at our freaking chia pet.
Yeah.
Brady culture chia pet. Kind of want a Brady
Don't you
culture chia
mean
pet.
A hair buddy.
No.
That's what it said on the.
Oh, it did it?
Yeah. So yeah, head past Stinky's. Pimple car.
What's a pimple car?
Must be one of those tiny European imports.
Here we go. Ah, it's these guys.
What's this?
It's the
A
cops.
clandestine meeting of the Computer Obsolescence Prevention Society?
The cops are obsolete no longer. Welcome to the grand opening of Pimp Le Car.
We offer sick car upgrades to a very exclusive clientele.
How exclusive?
No one!
No one. Not a body
What
shop?
was here before you opened this body shop?
A string of unsuccessful body shops.
Their lease was terminated!
What makes you think you will have better luck?
I love
A
Mr.
recent
Blaster.
influx of road debris will result in a projected 64% increase in revenue.
Road debris?
Nice.
From the main Tron?
My hero!
No! A shipping mishap from the North Pole has resulted in a glut of unwanted Torture Me Elmer dolls.
Destroy them all!
Wow. You know how to fix cars?
So do you know anything about cars?
If we didn't, why would we open a car shop?
Because you're lonely, forgotten machines who do anything to feel useful?
Processing. Oh dear. Input appears valid.
Oh no.
I just had a breakthrough.
This is all about my dad!
Damn, Chippy, didn't know you felt that way.
I like that guy. He sounds like he's swearing.
We'd like to pimp our car.
Please make a selection from the following menu. If you'd like the exclusive Death Horseman hood ornament, press 1 now.
And what else?
That is all we have. There was an ordering malfunction.
Oh no.
Totally not my fault!
Actually, we also offer a wide range of completely worthless decorative decals.
Ooh.
Worthless decorative decals.
We want some worthless decals.
What's this about decorative decals?
We can outfit your ride with a wide assortment of decorative embellishments created by our in-house auto detailing artist.
How does he do that?
His mother was a label maker.
Wow.
Simply hit the streets and obliterate rare objects. If we deem them suitably interesting, we will reward you with a decal to commemorate the joyous
Their
destruction.
achievements.
Now that's my kind of game.
What should we be obliterating?
For hitting
That
things.
is for you to determine.
We want that horseman.
We'll take that Death Horseman hood ornament.
Excellent. First, however, you must complete the Pimpla car driving
Pimple car
challenge.
driving challenge.
Oh, just give us the horse.
Where is the fun in that?
We've pooled together our years of experience in designing the most advanced computer games to bring you the ultimate augmented reality driving experience.
Augmented reality?
Yes, while you weren't looking, we placed a pair of our patented augmented reality goggles in your vehicle.
You did?
Through the miracle of augmented reality, your driving experience will be 5
How did they
to
do
10
that?
times
How
more
did they manage
satisfying
that?
than ever
Magic.
before.
How do they go
Technology.
anywhere?
Would you
How do they
like
move?
to try the driving challenge now?
Tiny little bug legs.
And how? Eat my dust.
Initiating
I like that.
augmented reality
neither. I don't know
driving
why I said
sequence.
I don't know why you said
I
that.
don't know.
If they were bugs, that would be fine, but they're not.
So we just gotta hit.
Hello,
Gotta
and
hit as
welcome
many
to the
torturing
Pimpla
Elmers
car
as you
driving
can, and
challenge.
also anything else that looks interesting.
I'm
to
really
run
excited.
over.
Your mission is to hit the display number of Torture Me Elmer dolls. Let them pay! And you must do it in the allotted time.
Just go already.
Ready? Go!
No more. I beg you.
Gotta hit him. Gotta drive. Gotta drive.
Why?
They're on the sidewalks too. Don't be
Oh
afraid
my
to
God.
drive on the sidewalks.
American citizen.
Sorry, I'm
Oh, bowling pins!
I'm a good boy.
What did you do to my leg?
It's true. Too good for vehicular manslaughter.
Whee!
That was exactly the sound that Max makes when Sam slaps him in the face.
It really is.
Not the face.
Running out of time.
Look into your heart.
You're running out of time. You need to hit more Torture Me Elmers.
I can't find them.
In hell. Please, not the corkscrew. I'll talk. No more. I beg you. Look into your heart.
Time's up!
Oh,
We're
so
sorry
close.
you've run out of
lose.
time. Would you like to try again?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can try as many times as you want.
You bet. We're just getting warmed up.
Excellent.
Getting warmed up.
Initiating do-order sequence. Destroy them!
Ready? Go!
I'll talk.
It's like not quite fast enough to actually hit the ones you can see.
Kill me.
But I am doing better this time.
Yeah.
I know my rights.
You didn't hit them all, so you didn't get a decal.
Oh man.
Not the face.
You gotta get a strike.
Why?
Strike for your stickers.
What did you do to my leg? I'll see you in hell.
Congratulations! You are
I did
a winner.
it! Yay!
I'm an American citizen.
Excellent! Please accept this exclusive
Wow.
hood ornament with our
That
compliment.
doesn't.
You're totally adequate!
That doesn't prevent torture.
Yay!
Look,
Totally
Max,
adequate.
It's the sudden
Actually,
unexpected
I'd argue
death
being an
figurine
American
with super
citizen
reaping action.
guarantees
Now, wherever
torture.
we drive,
Don't say that on
pedestrians
stream.
will feel the
The American
icy
government's gonna
chill
come
of
for
death.
us.
More so than usual.
Yeah, we're gay, trans, and autistic. The American government's gonna come for us anyways.
And communists. I'm a socialist, actually.
Yeah, not entirely.
Go to get the horse.
Oh, we didn't get the. I thought they just gave it to us.
No, they put it on your. They put it on your car.
Give me the horse.
Brr, it's icy cold.
Now we'll go back to the North Pole.
There's one.
I know, but you can't get it yet. You have to go back to the North Pole.
Okay. To the North Pole.
Where to, Sam?
We're off to the North Pole.
Oh, look, it also tells you what things you should hit.
Yeah. Okay, we need to give Bosco a present.
Yeah.
I knew we had to torture Bosco.
Yeah, we gotta freak Bosco the fuck out. And leave him completely vulnerable to the actual bomb his mom is going to send him.
Sorry, Bosco. We need that horse.
We need that horse.
Sure, I can't have
Go
this
for it,
forever?
Max.
His little bounce. Let's see. We need something that ticks. Ah, the obsessomatic stopwatch.
Obsessomatic stopwatch. Start kids' panic ulcers early with a constant reminder that they're always running late.
You can hear the precious moments of your life passing with every second.
Now we just need to attach a gift tag. Look, gift tags that say From Santa on them.
Perfect. I've had a hard time lately getting people to open packages that say From Max on them.
You only have yourself to blame for that.
It was worth it. Who's it for?
Bosco.
Bosco might like that.
Should we get Grandma's happy pills for the rat?
No, that's not gonna help. You could send him a cougar in a box.
Cougar in a box.
Why not?
That's a pretty small box for a cougar.
Yeah, it says some assembly required.
Ew.
Now we just need to attach a gift tag.
Ew.
What unlucky person should we mail this to?
Oh, you can't send it to Jimmy.
Can't send it to Jimmy.
You can't send presents to Jimmy.
Let's send it to Stinky.
Stinky might like that.
You think Stinky would like a an unassembled cougar in a box?
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I sent it to her.
Okay, got a question for you. How good's your memory?
Not.
Go back to the office.
Let's head back to civilization, or what's left of it.
I want you to remember that I said that.
Okay.
Because you're going to need to remember all the information you've learned about the demon.
I haven't learned anything about the demon.
You've learned all sorts of things about the demon. It's a new S&M season.
Howdy, Bosco.
Yeah.
I just got a package, and this one's ticking louder than all 5 of Larry King's pacemakers put together.
Larry King has 5
It's
pacemakers?
gotta be my mama's bomb. I'm gonna blow it to kingdom come.
Now, while he's distracted, Max, grab the package and let's get...
Look, Sam! It's the supersized famine figure with realistic binging and purging action. It's got over 1,700 points of articulation, 250 in the jowls alone.
You never were good at waiting to open presents, little buddy.
Wait, where's my package? Dear God, they took it. And they took Sam and Max too. There ain't no place safe.
Why did they replace Bosco's voice actor again?
I have no idea.
Did he do something?
I have no idea.
Someone look it up.
I'm not going to do it, so somebody else do it.
Chat. Why did they replace Bosco's voice actor?
Why did they replace Bosco with this fake Bosco?
Where to, Sam?
Who's this young Bosco? Back to the North Pole.
We're off to the North Pole.
You've got everything you need for an exorcism. A wonderful Christmas exorcism.
A wonderful Christmas exorcism.
Simply having a wonderful Christmas time. Spend your Christmas with a young priest and an old priest.
Mm-hmm. Chat is my Wikipedia.
So with all of the things you've examined so far, you should know everything you need to know about your demon.
From the 4 Horsemen?
Nope. From various objects littered around the workshop.
Oh. That requires me to have paid attention.
Yeah, well, just play the demon song. Put the horseman down and play the demon song.
Can we start the exorcism now?
Nope. We still need 3 more horsemen.
Let's hurry! I've got a sudden, inexplicable
Can you imagine coming
craving for
back
pea
here
soup.
every time you get a new horseman? That would be so annoying.
Pea soup.
I hope this demon appreciates all the work we're going through.
I just hope he doesn't rip our lungs out and eat them in front of us.
That's kind of what I meant.
It'd be nice if they didn't do that.
Yeah.
I can't wait till we finally exercise this bastard and put the video up on YouTube.
You'll have to. We still need one more horseman.
It's right here.
Got it.
That's the last one.
No,
now we
that
just
makes
have
sense.
to sing the incantation.
That makes.
I just wish they had chosen a
If we
slightly
want to save
older
Santa
voice
the season
actor.
of giving and possibly the entire Earth as we know it, yes.
It still hardly
That makes
seems
me like
worth
it. That makes me like it better.
Seems like a nice thought.
All right, time for playing a record.
Satanic record time.
Let's put
Like,
on
it
the
needs to be
friendly
more
demon
like
song.
world weary.
Yeah.
That's the wiggliest record I've ever seen.
Like two ferrets and a dolphin stapled together.
Nope.
Like gelatinous goo.
Gelatinous goo you saw in the box
Like
earlier.
gelatinous goo.
Well, where did the goo package come from?
In Lower Manitoba.
In Lower Manitoba.
Minesweeper.
Like Minesweeper.
I would like to play I Spy with my 100 eyes.
Yeah. Shambling corporate presence.
Hey, shambling corporate presence.
I did remember things.
Yay, you can exercise the shambling corporate presence.
The power of Christmas compels you.
Any second now, Santa's gonna walk out that door demon-free and shower us with gifts like an absentee dad with a guilty conscience.
Did it work?
Wait.
But he...
You mean...
But I thought...
But I thought...
Huh?
What? No.
I quit! I'm gonna be a dentist!
I'm gonna be a dentist!
Feliz Navidad, baby.
Santa
What?
wasn't
Nothing?
crazy.
Didn't you guys read the back of the instructions?
There's a back?
There's a back?
Very important. Make sure you have the spirits of Christmas to contain the beast, or you're screwed.
Oh.
Sam and Max, it's up to you to save Christmas.
Yep, we're screwed.
Well,
you made that problem exponentially worse. Congratulations. Merry Christmas.
well, now we have to find the spirits of Christmas.
Sure do.
Santa will be fine.
That explains why he was standing in that salt circle.
It does.
It's a record of what people got in their stockings. Jenny A. Nice kid, sock full of toys. Dan F. Means well, sock full of candy. Stephen G. Liar, sock full of coal.
Wow, Santa must really hate liars.
Yeah, a messy public divorce will do that to you, I guess.
Stocking
Look
stuffer.
at this. It's Santa's magical stocking stuffer. It fills the sock with whatever gift the owner deserves.
Ooh, let's try it.
I think we'd need to have socks first.
We need
Oh,
socks.
yeah.
Well, why not check the safe he was standing on?
Good idea.
Get out of the way, Max.
I do need to run into him at some point.
Get some Christmas spirits.
Oh.
Who dares to disturb our... Oh, it's you.
You know us?
We know all those who have ever ruined Christmas, especially the repeat offenders.
Who
Well,
are you guys?
Dig the spirit of Christmas past, brothers.
I am the spirit of Christmas present.
And that cat's the spirit of Christmas yet to come.
He's shy.
What's your 20, good buddies?
We could use some help saving Christmas.
We're not bad people. We've just had bad luck with major holidays. And automobiles. And federal statutes.
It is your own selfish actions that have brought this to pass.
selfish.
Selfish? We're freelance police.
Yeah.
We save
For
the
once,
world.
I think they haven't done
Sometimes
Sometimes
something.
on purpose.
You got no clue the bad karma you've built up, man.
They're also
you will
both,
need the combined help of all three of us to defeat the demon. We will show you
I mean, I'm pretty sure
Christmases
that,
you've
you know,
ruined.
I'm pretty sure that Max
Set
is a
them right,
psychopath and
we
Sam
will
is a sociopath.
consent to help you.
Where are you going?
I have to get
That
some
has nothing
air.
to do with why they're, you know.
Reeks of weed and dilithium.
That isn't the only reason they're, you know,
I got a bottle.
them.
A spirit bottle.
But you know, it's it contributes.
I don't like this monkey.
Well, go up the chimney, man.
Oh. Could do.
Oh. Now there's big portals.
Wait, let me run in Max. There we go. Oh gosh, there's I have to go to the future?
Yeah.
And the present and the past. Okay. Shall we do them in order?
Sure. Let's start with the past.
Which one are you?
Ho, 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 man.
I wanna
I'm
lick
the
that
spirit
portal
of
so
Christmas
bad.
past.
It looks delicious.
Boogie on
It looks
back
great.
in time with me. Stop the bad vibes you started with your sticky fingers and fill yourself with the healing nog of Christmas.
Don't ever say healing nog of Christmas ever. Ever again.
Ever
Hey,
again.
That's cool, man.
We've got to make amends for every bad thing we've done in the past?
No way, dude. Rising gas prices and inflation mean we can only help one of them.
Oh, okay.
You cats ready to take a freaky trip to the past?
Yeah.
You bet. I want to rub my body all over Mary Curie.
No.
And see if you'll glow in the dark?
That'd be neat too.
What, man? We ain't going back
But
that
Max,
far.
you don't even like girls.
Jump in.
Yeah, Max, you don't even like girls. I don't even think that's a like thing.
Okay. I'll tell you where the sandwich is. Just leave my mom alone.
Hey, wait, this is
Leonard, we would
context.
never do anything to dishonor your dead
No, it
mother.
isn't.
Never even
This is
took the
entirely
sandwich
out of
the
context.
casino. Hid it in the prize slot of the one-armed bandit, and then took the one arm so no one could win it.
Which brings
This
us to the
happened on
next
Christmas?
question. Where's
Apparently.
the arm?
Here we are in your office in the not-too-distant past.
I remember this. This is when we had to retrieve the Toy Mafia's meatball sandwich that Leonard tried to fence to Jimmy.
Do we get to beat up Leonard some more?
No way, Max. These cats can't sense your presence in any way. Dig? You are here to right a terrible wrong you once committed.
We have to stop ourselves from doing yo mama jokes?
Just watch.
See you around, sucker.
Wait, aren't you gonna untie me?
No.
Hello? Guys? Jimmy? Anybody?
Well, Jimmy, where's this big score that's gonna change everything? Where's all the money that's gonna save our dear tiny Timmy? Yes, Daddy. Where the is it? Oh, it's hopeless. The doctors say his Tourette's syndrome will kill him if they don't operate soon. Don't cry, Mommy. I'll get the with the up angels. It's all a bust, Mary. Every time I try to make an honest living, Sam and Max smack me down. Ah, Jimmy,
That
we
one was
were
on
all
purpose.
counting on you. I know, Mary, I know. If only I'd have stuck to boxing, I could have been somebody instead of being a rat, which is what I am. So get your lucky boxing glove and go fight. I don't have it no more. Sam and Max took it. Again with Sam and Max. If you'd spend more time boxing and less time sitting around watching TV, you'd be champ. Face it, Jimmy, you're a washout. Please don't fight Mommy and Daddy. Daddy's my hero, and he'll make everything right again.
Can you operate on Tourette's syndrome?
No.
You'll see!
That's what I thought.
I have Tourette's syndrome.
Yeah, but you don't have the
I don't have.
you don't have the swearing.
You'll see!
You just do that anyways.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I'll go call the doctor to ease his suffering. Just get that glove, Jimmy. Our
Maybe it
baby
is different
doesn't
in
have
rats.
much time to live.
Yeah, maybe it's different in rats.
I guess you could
And so,
lobotomize
Sam and Max,
someone.
you see what you gotta do.
Yeah, see, Penny, all you need is a lobotomy.
If that ain't the truth.
It would fix the speech thing. Yeah, this doesn't feel like Sam and Max's fault, honestly.
I mean, they did stop him from fencing that sandwich, and they did steal his glove. Oh, shit.
I really thought I'd never have to look at that again.
I could use a few holes in my skull, yeah.
Hey, Leonard.
We've come back from the grave to haunt you!
He can't hear us, Max. Also, we're not dead.
Not dead.
Yet. Well, there's nothing here you can actually do right now.
I need the,
You need the
boxing glove.
You need to get the boxing glove from the suicidal Jimmy. Close a time loop.
Let's see if we probably need objects for these other ones too, so.
Probably.
Let's see how
Prepare
to get everything.
yourselves for a journey beyond imagination as we enter the present.
As we enter roughly 15 minutes ago.
Sam and Max, witness how your reckless carelessness hurts
Hey,
those
wait
who-
a second! This isn't the present!
You took us to the past. Past us are standing right there.
I know that. Just give it a minute to catch up.
It's the limited edition Pestilence maquette with super detailed open sores.
Ooh, Gandhi Rice kickboxing
see how he
Buddha,
slumps in
style.
his saddle?
Does he have any cool action features?
Cut it out, Max. You don't know what that'll do.
What's the worst a toy could do? Choke a toddler, blind a toddler?
Summon cockroaches.
Eviscerate?
Well, it looks like nothing happened anyway. Let's go. Oh, no.
Seriously, we had a totally boss bug summoning toy, and we wasted it on a stupid exorcism.
Teen Hut! Snap 2, Sergeant! What? How did you stink bugs find me?
This place is great! Baby brother too good to share with his family?
Too good to break radio silence and call his mother anyway.
Been on important missions, ma'am.
Been hanging out with those filthy dung beetles, more like it.
They don't even speak our language!
As long as my family's together again, I'm never leaving.
Mayday, Mayday! Request immediate evac! Immediate evac!
So what? We have to rekindle the bug's love for his family? Teach him what they really mean to him?
Oh my, no. Have you seen them? They're awful. You have to get rid of them.
Oh boy, I'll go get my stomping boots.
Non-violently.
Damn.
What about this spirit bottle?
Nope.
Don't forget, you can induce flashbacks with scents.
Oh.
So if you have something that smells like something,
Nah.
you might be able to get him to copy stuff. I will say that you don't have it, but you can easily obtain it.
Okay.
Also, you did have it.
I did have it?
You did have it, but you don't have it anymore.
Merry not yet, Christmas Animort.
Merry almost Christmas means it's not Christmas.
I guess this leads to some
We're gonna have our Christmas
dystopian
dinner,
future
though. I'm
Christmas.
excited.
You say that about everything.
Boo.
I thought we were having our
But this
Christmas
time
dinner
I'm
tonight.
right.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
That's what I meant.
We're having a second Christmas dinner tomorrow.
No. I said, you
Second
said,
Thanksgiving dinner that can't be beat.
you said,
Wait, did I just
it's
not
not
listen to what you said?
Christmas. And I said,
And so am
we're
I,
gonna
Sam.
have our Christmas
Seriously,
dinner.
Check future me out.
But not
I
yet.
thought you said tomorrow.
No.
Well, Max, unless we learn how to fly, we're destined to spend the remainder of our days on a tiny outcropping surrounded by impossibly hot lava, ash, and soot.
I don't mind, Sam, as long as I'm with my
Christmas
best
cookies.
friend.
Yay!
Moxie
That's
made some
sweet,
Christmas
little
cookies
pal.
last night.
Hey, give me one of those pork rinds you were carrying.
Sorry, buddy. I already ate them all.
We're gonna die! Somebody help! Spirit, why would you show us this if we were powerless to change our snackless fate? Surely we
Same
can
Max.
alter these shadows before us. Perhaps with a larger, economy-sized bag of pork rinds. Or chips.
Or you know, Max, we could find a way to get our future selves out of this place.
Yeah, I guess that'd work.
Wonder if you can interact with your future selves.
The shortbread is delicious, even if it will break your teeth.
Hey, future me. Would it hurt you to hit the treadmill once in a while? Did you say something, Max?
You mean after we're gonna die, it burns, it burns?
You'll crack me up at some later time, little future buddy.
Don't I crack you up now, Sam?
Sorry, pal. His material just seems fresher somehow.
Wow, ouch.
Well, nothing you can do here. It's literally a desolate pile of rock and lava.
I keep wanting to press escape to get out of the inventory.
It keeps not working, because that pauses the game. You know what else pauses the game? Clicking off of it.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing I'm not doing that.
Okay, well, I'm sure you know how to get them out of there, right? You need the sleigh.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Boiler's out of coal.
We need a sock.
You need a sock of someone who's a big, fat liar. Oh, hey, look, it's that guy. The Shambling Corporate Presence.
Hi, corporate presence.
Freelance police, hell spawn. You're under arrest.
You have the right to remain viscous.
Do something!
I am
will
doing
say
something.
that before you go back to the office, there's one of these you can solve.
There's one of these I can solve?
Yeah, you can solve the present. With only things from this room.
He's really let
Were you
himself
paying
go.
any attention to the things the bug said earlier?
Well, he said that since...
Sure, but were you paying attention to his story?
Ah, I love the smell of snowballs in the morning.
Let us
mentioned
return
that,
to the present.
Oh,
he was
right, the
traumatized by
bleach.
cleaning products.
By cleaning
yeah.
products.
So the bleach from the bleach snowballs. Yeah, exactly. You need
Penny's
to-
only good at this one because,
Cleaning crews on all sides!
Father, it is you!
The butterflies are pinned down! Move out, maggots!
Penny's just
Sir,
played
yes,
this
sir.
before.
Company, march!
What in tarnation? My family, they've retreated! It's a miracle! A miracle!
Well done. Now, let us return to the present.
But we're already in the present.
Shh. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it too much.
But
I
Don't
must
think
admit
about
your
it.
repentance was acceptable. I suppose I can help you after all.
Forget
Bye,
that.
magic portal.
You gotta send me
Put
back.
a little
I
Penny
wasn't
Fairy
done
sprayed in the
haunting
corner.
people
She can
yet.
tell me what to do.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
Max.
Yeah,
you
Penny
and
has played a lot
Sam
of Sam
will
and
be
Max.
dead
Yep.
soon enough. I'll wait in this bottle until you're
Excuse
prepared
me?
to release all three of us to smite the demon.
We're really feeling the Christmas spirit now, eh, Max?
You bet. I'm excited, disappointed, over-socialized, and more than a little gassy.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Sounds like my life. The new present. This present is kind of used.
It's a regifted present.
It's a regifted present. Okay,
Anyway,
so
now you have to go back to the office before you can solve any of these other things.
Yeah.
Because you need the glove and you need a sock.
Where to, Sam?
Back to the office.
Let's head back to civilization. or
Technically,
what's
there's one
left
more
of it.
thing you can do
Good
here,
thinking.
but since you
We
wouldn't
can
know
always
about
freeze to death out here
you
later.
wouldn't have the actual puzzle yet. The later puzzle.
The later puzzle.
It's a later. It's a for later puzzle.
It's for later Sam and Max.
You gotta go visit all your friends.
Future Sam and Max.
And by that I mean get the glove from Jimmy.
I'm gonna do it. I'll jump, I tell you.
Hang on a second, Jimmy. Max, I don't think this is helping.
I disagree, Sam. I feel much better about myself already.
How do I get him to give me the glove?
I guess you gotta get him down from there. Oh, I remember. There actually is more at the North Pole you gotta do.
Ah.
You gotta get his wife back. And Leonard.
Can I steal Leonard's sock?
No. The hint here is Santa hates liars.
Santa hates... Oh! Get a sock from Stinky.
A stinky sock.
A stinky sock.
I don't want that. I don't want that.
Also, it is in fact my experience that Santa hates liars.
Yeah. Well, mostly our dad hates liars.
Santa hates liars.
Ironically enough.
No, Mom hates liars.
Mom hates liars. I also hate
that
liars.
That was
I'm not a fan of lying. Anyway,
no,
talk
I don't
to
like
Stinky.
lying either. But yeah, as lying was worse than the thing that you... Lying about the thing you did is worse than doing the thing you did.
Hi, Stinky.
Like murder.
Did you get a gift in the mail?
I did, but I didn't want it, so I mixed it in with a tuna surprise. Surprise!
Huh? There's a cougar in there.
Yep.
We'd like to order something.
We're all out.
Of what?
Whatever you're going to order.
That's okay. We just want to order it anyway.
All right.
We like the daily special.
Sal Condi Rice Kickboxing Nabuda, Thai style.
What's in it?
What do you mean, what's in it?
We'll have the poached eggs with tinfoil.
Sal, give me the Norse god Thor in a terrarium, and spank him.
We'd like the tuna sandwich, extra peppers and pop rocks on white bread.
Sal, I need an Al Gore in mariachi pants riding a disco ball.
On second
I love
thought,
the fake
I'm on a
diner
diet.
speak.
Yep.
How's the diner business?
There was more of those, by the
No
way.
Italian villa rendezvous with George Clooney, but reopening the family restaurant is very fulfilling.
Bringing people closer to obesity-induced ischemic heart disease is its own reward.
On the other hand, George is much easier on the eyes. And the feet. My dogs are barking louder than you, Fido.
Grrr.
Beat her?
Standing up all day getting you down?
And how? I was made for sunning beachside in Capri, not slinging hash counterside for a pack of ingrates.
Hey, there's only a couple of ingrates.
We'd like to order something.
All right.
Double biscuit burger, no clams.
I like the double burger baked in biscuit dough. Hold the clams.
Half a doppelganger in tight pants singing solo.
We'd like the sweet and sour saltwater taffy.
Sal, Julia Roberts, put a bullet in her brain and kiss her with Andy Rooney.
It's like my secret dreams made audible.
Could I get the precious special with hash browns?
Sal, 2 lemony snickets and a Mexican standoff with a prairie dog.
We'll have 2 yogurts and an open-faced turkey sandwich.
Sal, Hublis ×2 with a side of Brady culture.
On second thought, I'm on a diet.
How do I get her socks?
Well,
Standing up all day getting you down?
And how?
Maybe send
I
her
was made for
something
sunning
from,
beachside in Capri, not slinging hash counterside for a pack
maybe
of
send her something from
ingrates.
Santa.
So long.
Ooh, I know what to send her. Fucking leave. Let me out.
Yes.
I'm
yes.
Hublis.
A bomb.
A bomb.
No. But what? I know. Wait till my birthday.
Where to, Sam?
Christmas bomb.
A Christmas
We're
bomb.
off to the North Pole.
Oh, Christmas bomb. Oh, Christmas bomb.
A tannenbaum.
A tannenbaum. Aww.
Hi, I'm Hugh Bliss.
Ding.
Ding. Also, there is something you can do in the past.
Oh.
I just remembered.
Funny joke.
Yeah. Tannenbaum.
Bomba.
La bomba.
Foot bath and piranha aquarium. Too bad the piranha are sold separately. Let's attach a gift tag.
Who's it for?
Murphy Clurngus.
Stinky might like that.
Clurngus.
Doing genuinely nice things for people. With ulterior motives. It's the true spirit of Christmas.
Oh, where's the rat? You said I could get his wife back?
Yeah. You gotta go to the past.
Oh, okay.
That's the only place his wife has been.
Let's go to the past.
Look alive, Cheech. We want to go back in time again.
Lead on, brothers.
Remember, in order to make things better, you have to cause the initial problem.
Yeah.
Jimmy, stop.
Buck up, Jimmy. We'll get you that boxing glove. Oh, yeah, he can't hear us. Merry Christmas, Mrs. Two Teeth. We got you the one gift every
No,
rat
it's not
loves.
the actual Cheech.
An impossible maze.
Come and get it!
Alright, cool.
I think you have to, like, ring the doorbell or something.
Oh, okay.
You
I can't just
find some
put
way
it
to.
there.
You have to find some way to get her out of the hole. Like,
No, it's not. He was making a
if
joke.
you can make the kid swear a lot.
Jimmy, stop.
Don't worry, Tiny Timmy. We won't let Tourette's kill you. Oh, wait, he can't hear us.
No, close the door again. You can affect objects, but people can't see you.
Hello?
Maybe you can interact with the rat hole somehow?
So Jimmy's had a wife and kid in there with him all this time.
When in doubt, shoot stuff.
Put him out of his misery before the Tourette's eats him alive.
We're trying to save his life, not end it. Better not. If I killed Mrs. Two Teeth, I think it'd push Jimmy over the edge.
Can I shoot
Better
Leonard?
not.
No.
Maybe you can talk to Leonard?
No, because they can't hear
Or
me.
put some kind of... Maybe there's some kind of bait in there you could... Like if you could find a cheese.
No, the closet's not full of cheese anymore.
That's a shame. Maybe turn the TV on?
Jimmy, if you don't turn off that TV, I'm going to... Hey, where am I? It's hopeless. There's no way out.
You have to kidnap Jimmy's wife.
Don't say that, Mary. We can work it out. Mary? She left me. Now I'll never see her again. That... I know, son. I know.
Well, time to solve the problem we caused.
Yep.
Oh, she's in the closet. This place blows. Yeah, it was only for that one time.
Yeah. You know, that one time that we
Where
all know
to,
about.
Sam?
Yep.
Let's head back to civilization, or what's left of it.
That must be very confusing for Mrs. Two Teeth.
Right? She loses a whole year of her life. Gotta have a cheese closet.
Gotta.
The only way I'm going back in the closet is if it's full of cheese.
Jimmy? Jimmy, what are you doing? Mary?
Grilled cheese.
Mary, is that you? Mary! Don't go anywhere. I'll be right down. No, Jimmy, don't do it. Oh, I thought you were gonna jump. What? Don't talk.
I am related to
crazy.
Navi
I'd
from
never do
Eat.
that, especially not with my best girl here.
Gee, Sam, I think I got something in my eye.
Don't pick at it, Max. It's too hard to get back in the socket.
Jimmy, I don't know how I
They speak
got
from
here,
experience.
but I'm sorry for all the things I said. Don't worry,
If I was doing my
baby.
Navi voice, it'd be
now
like,
that you're
"Hello."
back in my life, nothing can stop
my
me
Navi
now.
voice.
I'm unbeatable.
Thanks for the glove, Jimmy.
I'm feeling full of the Christmas spirit already.
Now you gotta go close the time loop.
Let's go close the time loop.
You
Where
kidnapped
to,
his
Sam?
wife for an entire year just so you could stop him from
We're off
killing
to the
himself
North
because
Pole.
his wife left him.
Yeah. Yep. Uh-huh. That's how that works. I guess.
Which also means that if this spirit hadn't sent you back to try and solve a problem you caused, you would have never caused the problem he's trying to solve.
Yeah.
Hey girl, are you a time loop? Because, hey girl.
Here you go, Jimmy Tucci.
Happy holidays, Jimmy.
Hey, who threw that? What? Could it be true? Timmy, look! It's your pa's lucky boxing glove.
Where the did that come from, Daddy?
I don't think Timmy
I
has
don't
Tourette's.
know, son. All I know
I think
is
he
I
just has a
finally
swearing
got a
problem.
second chance.
It's a Christmas miracle.
I ain't never letting this thing out of my sight again. Now come on, son. Your dad's gonna go punch out some bums and get you that operation.
God us, everyone.
Way to go, dudes. You saved Christmas past.
Christmas
So
past?
let's groove
That's
on
actually
back
your
to the
fault that
present.
it's...
10-4 again,
Yeah,
buddy.
it's Cable from Marvel all over again. By going back to the past, you caused the problem you needed to solve by going back to the past.
Sam and Max, you made up for your past and helped Jimmy find his way. Now, for your reward.
Non-sequential serial
Timmy
numbers,
lied about
please.
having Tourette's. So
I'm
you
just
should
gonna
swear
chill
and get
in
it
his
out of-
muck
got it out-
until
got
you're
out of
ready to
control.
unleash all three of us cats on that fascist demon.
Timmy's just a cool ass motherfucker.
Nope.
With marginally more swearing.
Alright, now you gotta go get that sock.
Gotta go get the sock.
Sock, 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 sock,
Where
sock,
to,
sock,
Sam?
sock, sock.
Back to the
Let's
office.
head back to civilization.
I should have
Or
done
what's
that.
left of it.
before.
Good thinking.
sock,
We
sock.
can always
Yeah, but you
freeze to
forgot.
death
Now I
out here
forgot
later.
too.
It's fine.
Where'd the soda poppers go?
Eh,
I hope the Shambly corporate presence ate them.
me too. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Eat it, Stinkies. It's right behind you.
Stinkies is,
Ugh, that foot bath was heavenly. My feet haven't felt that good since that hot oil massage from Barack Obama.
It smells like you've got a new item on the menu, too.
Now I can find the strength to keep serving these poor, sweet, spoiled imbeciles.
Abel is sent back to the past to stop the apocalypse. But Apocalypse only exists as immortal Apocalypse only exists as an immortal being because... As an immortal being... Oh my god, I can't read. Because he was exposed to the technology within Cable's time-traveling vessel.
time traveling.
Time traveling.
Yeah.
This
It's
smelly old sock could
how
come in
you
handy.
traverse, it's how you traverse, various forks.
Ah.
With a time, being a time traveler.
Yeah. Travels through time.
It travels through time?
I said travels!
You did not.
I'm just from California.
You said it travels through time.
I fucking hate time travel.
We're off to the North Pole.
Fork-based travel.
Looking at time travel. Yep.
Time travel
God, I hate
never
time
works.
travel.
Time travel almost never works.
Man, I hate time travel.
You don't hate time travel. Your whole D&D campaign is time travel.
Yeah, because it causes problems. For you, specifically.
Can't wait to see what problems it causes for us in the present future.
Well, luckily for you guys, I've only been sending you to the future relative to your own time.
Does that mean one day I'll meet myself?
Because I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that time loop bullshit. Except that
Let's
I
see what
also
Stinky's
am.
getting from Santa this year.
Because you have encountered someone who met multiple previous iterations of you.
Coal.
That's what you get for lying all the time.
What do you think you get for reckless
Sadly, we're
disregard
already
for
time
public
traveling.
safety?
In my case, I got to be president.
What did Max say?
It's like, what do you think? It was full of coal. That's what you get for lying all the time. What do you get for reckless disregard for public safety? In my case, I got to be president.
Yeah.
Put that sock in the boiler. Boil the sock.
Boil the sock.
Boil the sock.
There we go. One Santa sleigh fueled and ready for takeoff.
Great! Now we can finally bomb Auckland.
I was thinking we could use it to save our future selves.
Right! In a preemptive strike against the vengeful Kiwis.
Get in the sleigh, buckethead.
They're perfect for each other.
They are perfect for each other.
By the ruby red goiters of Rube Goldberg. Look, Max, it's Santa's sleigh.
What an unexpected stroke of luck.
Or is it, Max? Remember that time long ago when we jacked Santa's sleigh in an effort to save Christmas and drove it recklessly into a hellish vision of the future very much like the one we're standing in now?
I stopped paying attention halfway through that sentence.
I wonder if our ghosts are here
Just
guiding
kiss
us
already.
right now.
Hey, past me! Check this out! Shake that thing!
Classy as always, little pal. Now let's get out of here.
I'm gonna miss that sexy beast and his fat tub of lard sidekick.
Hey, you could stand to lose a few yourself, smart guy.
He's not offended by Max saying it, just by the ghost agreeing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we saved Christmas for our future selves.
Is that all?
Get in the bottle.
I guess that means he'll help us take care of our demon problem.
What's he gonna do? Give him the silent treatment? No! Stop! Please!
Works on
Never
Max.
underestimate the power of passive aggression, Max.
Never underestimate the power of passive aggression. Alright, let's go. It's spirit bottle time.
Yeah. Corporate presence. Kill that shambling corporate presence. With the spirits.
I'll get the car started in case this doesn't work.
Hear us!
Max, you're not allowed to drive anymore.
Tune out those bad vibes of destruction and get with the spirit of peace, man.
Reject
Honestly,
violence
same.
and anger,
Max
and
needs someone to
embrace
work off
the
of. He can't
love
vibe on
and
his own.
brotherhood of the season.
Bummer.
Well, we tried. Get him.
Get him.
Santa,
They turned
He
into a
turned
jello.
into a
down
snack.
now, man.
That's about it for us. Happy New Year, everybody.
Well, I hope you boys have learned your lesson.
Not at all.
It was a series of honest mistakes, Santa.
Keep us on the nice list, and nobody has to see this videotape of you wetting yourself and screaming like a campfire girl.
You rapscallions, run along to bed, both of you.
Ready for visions of sugar plums to dance in your head, little buddy?
It'd be better than the night terrors.
Ho, ho, ho! Jello! Sinful.
You have no idea.
No!
Well,
Don't eat the jello!
Oh, I
Eat
don't
that
feel
fast.
so good.
well.
Also, now he's possessed by a demon, by a shambling corporate presence. And he has a gun.
Oh no. What are we gonna do?
Skedaddle, y'all.
And
We've got to take out evil Santa again?
but this time he's actually evil.
He wasn't evil the first time.
We'd better wait to jump on that until after the shooting stopped.
Now we've got the climactic finale.
Not now.
Can you shoot things around the room to activate them?
Maybe if I can actually shoot stuff.
Try shooting, Plunder Pounder doesn't have any ammo in it.
That did something.
It did something. It definitely did something. Put another present down. Shooting the computer isn't helpful. You can just right-click to put things away.
Oh. This is why time travel is bullshit. The finale wasn't very clear.
Yeah. That timing it. Almost. One more time.
Need it to be
Just past the trampoline. Or like right on it, I guess.
There we go.
Oh, so close.
Come on.
Oh. Okay.
That should have worked.
Shoot the lever over by the Christmas tree.
Yeah. Shoot that.
Now shoot the plane. Shoot the switch to stop it over the thing.
Dang it. So I don't play with him. I don't need home wreckers coming in and messing up the place. There we go. Got it.
The AI is Big Bill Hell's cars.
Now what?
Poke holes in the box and keep him, please.
Great news, Sam and Max. The demon didn't get us.
Oh, man.
Why won't you guys just die?
Now it's time we sent this demon back where he belongs.
Under an unsuspecting child's bed?
No, look at the mailing label. Somebody messed up. It wasn't supposed to go to Santa. It was supposed to go to Satan.
Oh,
okay, I get it.
I see what you mean.
Everybody, it's almost dawn. What are you standing around for? We've all got to pull together and save Christmas for the kids of the world.
I can do the wrapping.
I can do the labels.
I can do the urinating.
But who could possibly deliver all the toys in time?
Sam and Max.
Godspeed, Sam and Max.
Merry Christmas.
Good luck.
Drink plenty of liquids.
Merry Christmas.
He's got bladder
Say, Max,
issues.
do you think we should have
Everybody
waited
hide
for
your
them to
wives.
load the
Hobby
presents
Ham is
before we
going.
drove off?
What's the rush, Sam? It's the middle of November.
It's not even Christmas.
It's not even Christmas. Almost Christmas means it's not Christmas.
Almost Christmas means it's not Christmas. Alas, an upside to the whole we're not buried yet gag. Well, we still have an hour of stream left. What do we do?
Take a nap?
No.
We could take a nap. We could all go to bed.
No.
Have you considered going to bed and sleeping?
No. Draw a little Christmas guy. We could.
I want to go to bed and sleep. It's Christmas Eve and I woke up too early.
Yeah. No.
Like, you specifically are not allowed to sleep because you have to do a stream also, right?
No, not today.
Oh, not today?
They have to help with
Oh,
dinner
right,
stuff,
because
which you should also help with.
Crit.
Should we do another one?
No. No, we won't get through another one. We'll do another one later. We should play something else.
What else is Christmassy?
No.
What?
No, there isn't.
No. No.
We're not gonna play Night Trap. Where do we even get Night Trap? Well, is there anything short we could play? Or like something we could play for a little while? Or something I could play?
Could we get this done in an hour?
No, we cannot get that done in an hour. Maybe if we skipped like all the dialogue. That's the best part.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
What about...
Fatty Bear Christmas? Is there a Fatty Bear Christmas? I don't think we have a Fatty Bear Christmas.
No, there's only Fatty Bear's birthday surprise.
We could pretend it's Christmas.
No, that's birthday. That's not... Birthday is not Christmas unless you're born on the Christmas.
Like my dad. He's not born on Christmas. He was born the 30th. There are presents. Exactly. That's what I said.
There are presents, but they are not.
Unless you're Jesus.
Unless you're Jesus. Even Jesus wasn't born on Christmas.
No, I think they got Easter and Christmas swapped.
There are no lambs on Christmas.
I really think that they got
There are
Easter
no lambs
Christmas
in the
swapped.
winter. That's a spring.
That's a spring.
There's baby sheeps in spring.
Yeah. We just got the dates wrong. We just have to swap them back.
We didn't get the dates wrong. We just, you know.
Could play more Winter Star, dude. I could.
You could play, You could play,
I know Easter is when he dies. I think they got the dates wrong.
You could play Santa Claus Saves the Earth for the PS1. You could also never do that. You could play...
Look at VGeeb. Nice.
I don't know, I'm tired. I'm tired and yawning. I don't want another 7 Max. There's not enough time. No, if we don't do the whole thing, there's no point.
See, but if I play Stardew, Penny's gonna leave.
I'm gonna leave anyway.
No.
I'm tired. I'm tired.
Well, then you should go to bed at a more reasonable time.
I can't. I go to bed at a reasonable time, and then I don't go to sleep.
Knock yourself out.
I can't.
Have Acacia knock you out.
No.
Just a little punch to the head.
No, she's usually asleep when I go to bed.
Well, there's your problem.
I'm not gonna wake her up just to punch me in the head.
Just go to bed at a more reasonable time.
I'm going to bed at a perfectly reasonable time.
And what time is that?
Like midnight. Except when I'm up at 3 a.m., like yesterday.
Well, my point stands.
Listen, that's the exception, not the rule, Moxie.
You do not go to bed at a reasonable time. I seen you.
Sometimes I'm asleep there in the living room. Most of the time I'm just ADHDing too close to the sun, though. You should play Batman.
I'm not gonna play Batman.
That's a Christmas game. It's at Christmas.
I'm not gonna play Batman.
Oh.
That's like calling... Oh, I don't want to start that argument. Never mind.
Were you just about to make the argument that Die Hard wasn't a Christmas movie?
Don't.
Were you
I was
just about to?
joke.
Were you just about to make that argument because you'd be wrong?
I was just gonna make a joke. I was joking.
You would be wrong.
I don't want to start that argument. Is there a Crimbus Pajama Sam? No.
Nope.
Sadly. I would love a Christmas Pajama Sam.
There's no Christmas themed humongous adventure. You could play Dark Souls. That's Christmas.
I'm not gonna play Dark Souls.
You can play Dark Souls.
No. Is our Empire server still up and running? I think so.
You could play Doom.
I'm not gonna play
Doom is Christmassy.
I think Alicorn Pigu is having trouble. I could look.
You could play
I've had no luck getting on Empires. Oh no.
You could play Dwarf Fortress.
would I do that?
Because you can buy one cabbage from some kobolds. They'll give you a tribute of one cabbage. It's their only cabbage.
RuneScape. Wow. And then what happened?
I died.
No!
I got better though, it's fine. You can play Katamari Damacy.
It's not Christmas.
Sure it is.
How about we play Disney Infinity? I don't know if I have Disney Infinity.
You don't.
I have a lot of... I have Dreamlight Valley.
I have it on my Steam, but you're not on my Steam, so you can't.
Wait, I thought we were in the same family, so we shared games.
I'm in a different family. I'm in a family with Acacia. With my wife.
Well, you should be in a family with Dad to get all his games.
I can't, because I can't change it.
Really?
Yes.
That's stupid.
Yep. You can only change it once every like certain time period, and I guess setting it up counts. It's dumb.
Open Pokemon Violet. I don't have it up here.
I think we should just end early today. It's Christmas. We have all these stuff
people.
to do. We got stuff to do.
Guys!
What?
We have all these people. Let's do a little Christmas Jackbox.
Oh, well, if you do that, I'm going to bed.
What's wrong with you?
I don't like Jackbox.
You don't like Jackbox?
I don't really like Jackbox. I don't know why. It's always kind of stressful for me.
Why?
Because I'm bad at it.
You're not.
I am. I don't know. I don't like it.
Penny lost her Crimbus spirit. Jeez, Penny, why do you hate
I don't hate you. It's not you that I hate. Yeah, I'm the Grink.
Well, we could play TKO and have it be Crimbus themed.
I don't want to play. I am the ruiner who hates fun. That's true.
Penny hates me personally. All right. Well, Penny can be boring if she wants. We're gonna play Jackbox.
All right. You guys have fun playing Jackbox. I'm gonna go to bed.
All right.
I'm gonna go take a nap because I hate all of you. That's a lie. I love all of you. Bye.
I get out of here.
No.
Penny can check their Switch, be useful. No, I'd have to like get the dock and everything.
You can't get my Switch. It's a Switch shoe, and then I don't have the charger.
No, my Switch.
Oh. Nope.
Anyways, why did you want me to open Pokemon Violet? Is there a thing? All right. So I have to play this through OBS, so that's gonna be fun. So I actually can't see you guys right now.
brought Jack's Switch.
Oh, shit!
But not the dock.
But not the dock, so what's the point?
I don't know.
I can tell you guys about how Penny broke my Joy-Con.
Yeah, it's not entirely my fault. Just mostly.
Yeah, so I left my Joy-Con on my Switch on...
Go get the top.
We're gonna play Jackbox.
Okay. Have fun, y'all. Love you and Merry Crimbo.
Merry Crimbo.
Happy December Wii and all that good shit.
Yeah, so I left my Switch on the thing. On a little like wobbly table in the living room. And Penny bonked into it and threw my Switch to the ground. And now one of the Joy-Cons doesn't go. One of the Joy-Cons doesn't go on the thing, so. All right. So, ground rules. Listen, chat. Ground rules. No NSFW, because last time we had a huge problem with that. And everything has to be Christmas themed. Those are the rules. You can have like mild, but like mostly yeah, you can be the Kappa. I don't see anything wrong with that. Why did it censor Kappa? It's because that's a emote name. Technically. Alright. Yeah, I don't know how it works. Chemjamin! Well, it's Chemjamin now. Alright, I think that is everybody in chat, so let's get going! It's when it caps it causes autocorrect. It did do it the first time. Oh no, I guess it did. Yeah. ChemG. Let's go! Remember, it has to be Christmas themed. Or at least Christmas adjacent.
Welcome to TKO. I am the tournament master, and I look good today. I brought you all here to T-Shirt Island to have the wildest spring break of our lives. Oh wait, no, that's the next group. You guys are here for the T-shirt thing?
We're here for the T-shirt thing.
Welcome to the training grounds. You will use your device to draw 3 drawings. Draw whatever your heart desires, like literally anything, it doesn't matter. But if you need an idea, hit the suggestion
It does matter, it has to be Christmas.
It's time for your first drawing, right now. haste before time runs out.
Ah! 3, 2, 1! Oh no!
Interesting. I get what you were going for with these, but this time I want to see more colors. On to drawing number 2.
Just make it a Santa butt. Festive.
Time is about to expire. You may want to finish up.
Hurry up!
One drawing to go. Let your freak flag fly, man. Begin.
Yeah, remember you guys have a lot less time than you think you do. I'm just drawing cute drawings, I think. Mine'll never get picked. They're not funny. They're just cute.
That time is not for decoration. Finish quickly.
Blackboot! Submit! There we go.
Challenge complete.
Calius Killer. I might be on my Cintiq. I'm using my big XP pen tablet.
Phrases as you can. Something really clever or really dumb. I'm sure anything you write will be one of those. And there's no shame in hitting the suggestion button if you need it.
I do think some might have even come through.
Keep writing, write like the wind. Time goes short. Hurry up and finish already. You really dug deep that time. Enough training. Direct your attention to your device. Select one drawing and one slogan to create the perfect t-shirt combination. And I do mean perfect.
Got some good shit. Good shit in here.
Oh, very clever. Our combatants are ready. Let the tournament begin.
Here we go.
Gauntlet 1. Versus. Fight. Using your devices to vote.
These are good. A solid 15 seconds behind the stream. Oh no. It's like his little smile. He's so happy to be giving you shit for Christmas.
A new challenger appears. Engage one another in violence.
That's my drawing. It didn't look like that when I saw it last. Can you move the avatar just to switch to the right? I can. I have to tuck myself down here.
Oh, a new challenger appears.
Oh no, that's worse!
Fight!
Nice job, Kenj.
Versus. Attack!
Yay! That's a great snowman. That's such a good snowman. It's a great snowman. Nice.
Winners. Oh, I need a breather. Let's take a training break.
I'm sorry your drunk snowman didn't make it. Maybe next time.
Use your devices to enter one new drawing and as many new slogans as you wish. I want you to know, I believe in you. Go.
All right, let's go.
Time grows short. Hurry up and finish already.
Submit! Submit your drawings! Submit your drawings now! You're running out of time! I tried.
Right.
I tried to warn you. Tiny quarter jack. I have to stay out of the way.
Time is about to expire. You may want to finish up. As we approach the second gauntlet, the cruel winds of chance have switched around your drawings and slogans. Let's see some new shirts.
Oh my god, I have the perfect shirt! I have the perfect shirt, yes! You guys will see. You guys will see I got the perfect shirt. And I know exactly who made it. It's the same person. I guarantee slogan and art. I have it.
Good luck.
I have the winner.
Gauntlet 2. Versus. Fine.
Was submitted 2 identical drawings? Oh no. Maybe it fucked up. I rarely ever vote for my own shirts, but you know. I have it. I have him. Oh, thank you for the follow. Post pattern. Yay. Listen, I rarely vote for my own shirt, but I truly believe I have the perfect shirt. Yeah! The bee! We have to make the bee win.
A new challenger appears.
Absolutely not. Whoever wrote that, get out. Get out of my chat. The bee! Yay! Bee forever! No!
A new challenger appears. Fine.
What is this bird? This is not festive. This is not a festive bird. It's a great drawing, but it's not a festive bird. It's a great bird. Yeah! You can't make me leave. No skibbity in my chat.
Brace yourselves for the
I'll
final
ban you
gauntlet,
all.
where the toughest shirts from the previous rounds go toe to toe. Prepare to vote.
Here we go. The final round.
Versus.
B.
Fine.
Is it biased if everybody knows that I like the B? You guys could vote against me, that's fine. B.
Versus.
Oh man, these are both good. These are both really good. I have to back my boy. Black, you need a bee emote when you can. When you get new emotes, you need a bee emote. You need the bee. Or maybe I should have the bee, because we usually do Jackbox on my channel.
We have a chat.
I'll commission you. I'll commission you for a bee.
My work here is done. But if you ever need me, you know what to do. Play the game again is what I mean.
Yeah, we need the bee emote. So one of us needs the bee emote. Alright. I will grab the link for the shirts. And then we can do one more round, I think. Or do we want to do Quiplash? Do we want to do another... Yeah, I got the link for the Christmas shirts. Do we want to do like a Christmas Quiplash? Down for Quiplash. Let's do a Quiplash. Can you use your Switch at all, or is it fucked without the dock? I haven't tried. Actually. If I can still... Oh, the controller turns on. Oh yeah, it still works. Yeah, it still works. I just can't stream it without the dock. I can't stream it without the dock. That's all. But I can hop on to Violet after. Before stream is over, whether chat can see it or not, I would highly recommend booting up Pokemon. Okay. I boot up Pokemon. We'll have a little reaction, but chat can't see. Yeah, it should be maximum lag delay. I was messing with my... Is there like a Christmas thing in Pokemon? That's cool. I just worry about stressing this this crack in the Joy-Con. I got Violet. Well, because when it fell on the floor, it like popped out the black part that connects to the Switch, and it cracked right on the screw at the top on the back. So. Big now, haha. All right, I'm in the game. Now what? See ya, Ham. Is there like a gift? Link code. Trade or I guess trade. No, I'm on offline mode. I don't have online. Remember? I don't have it anymore. It may not work. We may have to be close together, whatever it is. Let's see if it works from across the house. I was the most ignored on TKO. Oh my god. We all get to be a himbo every now and then. Oh, do you guys want a little sneaky peek? You wanna? Ooh, a trade partner has been found. Never mind. Haha, I was gonna sneak peek my VTuber while I was waiting. Now I have to figure out some random thing to give you. Wait, do I have anything you might actually like? You pass me anything, doesn't matter. I want to give you a Pokemon you like, though. Yeah, you can have this guy. A shiny Piplup! Oh my god, shiny Piplup! Thank you. You name it for you. Ooh! Oh yeah, I can't name him. That's right. I think you could only change it once to make it count. Oh, okay. Why does it say judge? I don't want to judge him. I can't judge him. My plus button might not be working. In case you guys didn't know, gonna have to dip and come back with the proper name. Well, if I can name him, then that's fine. Let's try it. If you can't, I'll take it back and rename it. Okay. I take too much himbo. I thought Pokemon was doing a thing, not Black being cool to Jack. No, I thought Pokemon was doing a thing too, honestly. I was like, oh, did they do a fun Christmas thing? That's weird. Shouldn't it be in ZA? Oh my god. Bye, Gabite. Bye, random Gabite. Piplup! I will take good care of Piplup. Plug has been hinting about it for weeks and Jack not catching on. Very funny. What? Really? Oh, that's hilarious. That's so funny. Alright, let me look at... He's level 1! Oh yeah, I can change his nickname. Okay, it says I can change his nickname. He's so cute! He's level 1! I'll have to think of the perfect name. Gave you a whole bottle cap too. Ooh, thank you. A gold bottle cap. Wow. That's so cool. Thank you. Oh. I gotta think about what to name him. I will do this later. All stats can't be maxed out when you hit level 50. Ooh. Oh. Oh, all stats can be maxed out when you hit level 50. Oh. Can't? Can? I don't know. I'm confused. I have a confusion. Yeah. I'm gonna start getting Quiplash set up. So max stats. Good. Ooh, he's gonna be my best little buddy. Back in the corner. Good bottle cap will let you max your IVs at level 50. Cool. I go back in the corner now. Actually, I'll just zoom in. I'll zoom in. Here, wait, let me show you guys a cool thing. I have to disappear for a second. You guys ready? Look at that. Who's that? Only a sneak peek. That would have been a perfect spot during TKO. Well, right here. Now a sneak peek. New model. New model. Now you're trying to decide. I'm working on the clothes now. So, you gotta wait for that. What? Isn't it so much better? It's so cute. I think it's cute. I have no clothes though, so I can't show you anymore. But I can like duck down. I must be all the way stretched up. Oh no, they're naked. Twitch, don't get me. I didn't disable violence. I never disabled violence. Bombs aren't violent. Alright, let's get... Let's get a Quiplash. Where a Quiplash? No. Back to pack. No. Excuse me? Back to pack. Anyways. Alright, gonna launch a Quiplash. Remember, Christmas themed. Try to be Christmas themed as much as possible. It'll be a fun challenge. I think I fixed some lag on my end. Yay! Why is Quiplash not launching? Where is Quiplash? You're on your pooter. Good. Okay. Extended timers. All right. Oh, you couldn't buy your Christmas Eve games. Well, tech support's welcome to join if they want. If you guys wanna join in. Are you joining in, Ham? Or are we just going? We're still trying, so I'll just watch this time. Okay. It'll just be us then. Feel free to join the audience. If you're in the audience, you can type your own little answers and they'll like pop up on screen. It's fun. It's fun. Quiplash!
Greetings and welcome to Quiplash.
AKA Jack's Not Funny.
Okay, let's move this along. I'm sure I'm missing something very exciting on Snapchat.
Thank you for the follow, Kobazing.
Round one. Two prompts
Merry
will
Christmas.
appear on your device, which you can answer in any clever or not
You're in the
clever way
audience.
you want. Everyone
Yay!
will choose between your answer and someone else's and decide who wins.
You have a
The
little
more folks
autism
who
guy
choose
as your
answer, the more
as your
points you
tag.
get.
That's so cool.
Go.
Hey, Jack is funny.
While the players enter their quips, audience members can try the audience play along on their devices.
don't know. What is it again, jury duty? I don't know. Me too. I'm doing my best.
Okay, remember, this is all your fault. The first prompt is a strange thing to shout during a tickle fight. Okay, voting time. Pick your favorite.
It's so much more challenging, but I think that's fun. Stretches your brain a little bit. Everyone's got to stretch their brain. Hydrate, thank you. Yeah, it's so much better.
Okay, next one.
I guarantee you it is not. I love when I say something that's like wholesome and kind of silly and you guys just take it and make it NSFW. I'm over here being wholesome. Chat's disgusting. Oh, it's actually a reference to... Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I don't watch Brutal Moose. NSFW coding is what we do.
Coming up next, an alternate name for meatloaf.
Holiday helper! I should watch him more, but I generally don't. Who's not voting? Oh, I guess there's only 4 of us, huh? So it's just 50-50?
To a sick child.
We have to agree. It's a small group. That's fine. That's fine. Well, if Penny wasn't such a sourpuss, we would have more players. We're gonna get you that operation. Mine was thematic. It was basically the same, though.
Round 1 is behind us. Let's see how you scored.
It's a small group after all. It's a small group after all.
Onward to round 2. Remember, all
It's a
points and
small
bonuses are
group
doubled.
after all. It's a small group.
Audience members, instead of just waiting around while the players type, try the audience play along.
All right, quick Christmassy answers this time. That's what I got. Who is that? Who is not submitted? You got like 10 seconds.
Hurry up.
Not thematic for one of my answers, but I thought it was funny, so that's fair. We'll see.
Let's see how you did. Starting us off, the title of the book that's never checked out at the library.
I saw Mommy kissing Grandpa. I really forced that to work. I don't know, I think I would read either of those. JK, I don't read. Same though. Same.
Moving on, the last person you'd want to be on a lifeboat with. Ready, set,
Meister Burger. Yeah, he kind of sucks, doesn't he? Santa's Lovers has more interest. That is true. But I wanna read I wanna read Santa Kissing Krampus. But you don't want to check out Santa Kissing Krampus because you don't want to be caught with that. Smut. Yeah, that's the better answer. Truly, actually the better answer. Your first response is actually gonna be reindeer too. Yeah, you steal the book. You don't want people to know you read it.
Vote on your devices.
7 tiny toilets. This one's hard to make Christmassy. Oh, I didn't even read that Santa was on the first one. If you read it as the 12 Days of Christmas, it works.
Next in line.
7 tiny toilets.
That for years they've observed blank through a powerful telescope.
And a partridge in a pear tree. Wow. Wow. You're all terrible. I'm canceling Christmas. Yeah, I knew it. It's red like the red
We've reached
planet.
the end of round 2. Let's see what happened.
I didn't get any points. You guys don't think I'm funny. See, I told you guys I wasn't funny.
This is round 3, the last lash. One final chance.
All right, what do we get?
The same prompt
Please,
this time.
please, not Comic Lash. Acro Lash. I told you guys I'm not funny. It's okay.
Goes with this acronym.
Oh no! There we go. Ah! Submit!
let's see the responses. Okay, in round 3, you get to award both a gold and a silver medal to your top 2 quips. Have at it.
I couldn't think of shit either. I wrote. I could not think of anything. I had S. And then I had to work around S. Themed Quick Flash is very challenging, especially when the questions aren't themed. But it's funny.
Great, let's see where those medals ended up. Here's the silver.
I think it's fun.
The gold.
I think that was the group experience for this question.
Turn that into cold hard points.
I somehow won that. I had a different acronym and then I was like, you know what? They're gonna pick this one but more. Getting dipped into hot cocoa is how you get holiday joker? I don't know what that means. And Jack thinks they are funny. I'm not. Alright. Let's go, do we wanna go one more? Everyone falling into vats in Gotham, that's true. Alright, let's do another one. We'll do new players so that, if anyone new wants to join in, then we can. Oh, I'm a little star. Can you imagine playing TKO with 3 people? Like, it's really, you really need more friends than that. Yeah, keep it SFW. You are still a little cube. I'm Batman is also a cube. Anyone who was in the audience wants to join in? I'm Batman, good name. Alright. That's 5. I'm gonna give it another minute. Alright, let's go. Yeah, keep it SFW. It wasn't letting you in, oh no.
Welcome to Quick Flash. I'm Schmitty, and I'm hosting this game on a dare. First thing, I just want to clear up a few rumors. Very few players have died on my watch.
Yeah,
The
keep
ones
it
that have
like
deserved it.
PG-13.
Here's round 1. You score based on the percentage of players who like your answer. Plus,
Ah, it
there
was
are
just delayed,
winners'
okay.
bonuses at stake. Go!
Mostly kept the theme. Nice. Yeah, try to be on Christmas theme as much as possible, or other holidays. You could make a Hanukkah joke. What? Yule? The first one was hard to keep thematic. Mine were pretty easy to keep thematic this time.
Let's see those quips. Number 1 on the list. A good sign your mechanic is ripping you off is that he says you need a new blank. Okay, pick your favorite and vote.
You really want me, bit. Black, are those lyrics? Or are you just saying shit? I need a new duck.
Next,
Quack.
the name of a clothing store for jockeys. It's voting time.
Elves on horses. Well done, sticking on theme. Okay.
Next on the list, the one thing that never sells at costume shops is a mask of blank. And vote.
Eternal damnation. Nice. I wouldn't wear a mask of eternal damnation. I'll eat my points sadly. Num num num.
Next up, the first thing the ugly duckling did after turning into a beautiful swan. Okay, vote.
What? It's better than massacring baby Jesus. I'm not even religious. That's just awful.
Next one.
That's horrible.
The worst place to fall
Swans are evil.
Get to voting.
It is assembly line. It was themed, but it was too horrible to vote for. That is a worse place to sleep, absolutely. We got a first time chatter because you were so awful.
Let's see the scores.
What's up? I know Apple Tree.
It's round 2 time and everything's worth double. Don't let those points go to waste.
Success. You're Batman? What's up? The name is murdering me! But we ball. Fuck it, we ball. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun brain exercise. Nah, that's cool.
First up, the least impressive trophy.
Like a snow globe or an ornament.
Okay,
There's
everybody pick your
Bison
favorite.
calling out Dan. I don't know what that second one means, but I was less murdery. Good. It's fun, I'm just bad at it, yeah. It's good, thought exercise, you know? Stretch your brain. I would like to take my brain out and, like, play with it like a stress ball. That'd be nice.
Up next,
I think it'd be a good texture.
the worst place to put potato salad. Vote now.
These are both awful. But, like, imagine... Imagine you just, like, plop it in the stocking with everything else. I knew Bleck would think that that was awful because, yeah.
Next prompt.
That's, like, worst nightmare, is, like, putting your hand in something goopy. Yeah.
Put in your votes.
Oh, no. These are basically the same. Yeah. These are basically the same. I like that someone could accidentally search Santa being naughty.
Next on deck. Breaking news. Scientists have just discovered
I think that's funny.
creature, the blank shark.
Santa shark. Elf-eating shark. Oh no. Not the elf-eating shark. He's got a bearded hat. Santa shark. These are both very good.
Next in the hopper, the hardest part of living forever.
Same shark, actually.
Ready, set, vote.
Having to deliver presents every year. That's good. Yeah, you're immortal, but at what cost?
Round 2 is no more. Let's see the damage.
Santa's actually Sisyphus. Oh no. Here we go,
We've made
last
it to
lash.
Round 3, the last lash. Focus up because you're all answering the
Santa's.
same prompt.
Wow, same brain. Word lash.
Here's your word lash task.
Oh no. B SFW chat. No. Whatever you're thinking, no. Absolutely not. I need the absolutely not in my chat as well. I need to get that for Black, send me the audio file for the absolutely not so I don't have to get it myself. I'll put it on my stream. 10 seconds, Black! Submit! Submit your thing! No! You're running out of time! Whoa, that said one,
right,
bro!
brace yourselves. Pick your medal
That
winners
said
now.
one. These are... You're all terrible. Not enough space, oh no! I had that problem with Grimace last time. I said it, Grimace. Chestnut roasting is thematic. I feel like everyone knows which one is mine. And everyone knows which one is Kenji's. Guess which one I didn't vote for? Being wholesome is hard for Batman. Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Okay, let's see who got those medals. Bronze first. Silver.
His parents are dead.
Let's sell off those medals for points.
Oh, I didn't let you vote. Rude.
We're done. Let's see the final scores.
It's just because it was the most unexpected. It had nothing to do with the prompt. Kenj wins. Well done. Well done, everybody. Alrighty, alrighty. It's time to go. I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas. Make sure to follow if you're new. I play games on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Mondays we usually do some art stuff. Wednesdays we usually play stuff with Penny, which we did in the first half of this stream. And Thursdays we usually play Baldur's Gate with Bleck, Moxie, and Naomi from Skinny Pig Games. Yeah! Happy Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Solstice, Yule to everyone. And to all, a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world.